Yo! Oi. Hello. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Oh, what do we got? Oh my gosh, Lizzie, thank you for 28 months. Holy crap. What's up, SK? Oh man, what's up, everybody? Pumpkin Cake, Connor, John Smith, Dan1TV, Knight Mahara. Some of these names I don't recognize. Forchinsky, what's up, y'all? Oh my god, Connor bursting in with a 38 months. My gosh. Yeah, long time no see, everybody. Sorry for the delay between this stream and the last one. Frankly, it's been absolutely crazy. It's been a wild summer. We've been pretty stacked, definitely more so than I thought we would be. I've also, frankly, been scrambling for work because just as part of, it's like some of the people who I worked with or I had freelance contracts with no longer work at the places that they used to. I'm sure y'all have heard about downsizing in tech companies and all that kind of stuff. And also a lot of other places have much smaller budgets. So a couple of my clients no longer are producing content for me to edit. So this has been kind of a problem. So hey, I mean, I'm going to be asking this to just patrons in general. If y'all know anyone who either needs freelance editing or, frankly, at this point, I'm looking for both part-time and full-time work, hopefully in something game dev related alongside Wildlander. So if you know anyone, I can send you along any sort of resumes or whatever, anything you need. And I really appreciate it. But in the meantime, that has now, at the very least, given me some cool time to work on Wildlander stuff in between applying for places. And then I'm also trying to supplement with audiobooks, which I think would be really fun. Just to one-up Lizzie. Yes, of course. I have definitely not died, at least to my knowledge. And frankly, I am... probably what I'm going to do on this stream to start with is go through the most recent news post. Yo! Thank you very much for 18 months Praxis. My gosh. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, SK. If I have no other work at all, I will have to focus on Wildlander at least up until the moment in which I am evicted. Which is, of course, the plan. But yeah, I mean, it really has given me a lot of time to work on some really cool stuff for Wildlander. I'm really excited about this next update. To be frank with you, there's a lot that's on the plate, but I do think that it's going to be really incredible. And I'm trying to pump as much as I can into it. Also because I think it's going to, Wildlander is sort of my primary portfolio piece when it comes to finding work of this sort. So there's that wonderful alignment where the better we can make it, the better it is for you and the better it is for me too. Yeah, I can still work on Wildlander on the streets. I'll just be hanging out outside of Starbucks plugged into the wall on their Wi-Fi. Yo, thank you for 14 months. Yo, what's up? Hype Train. Man, that's like a record. Thank you so much. What's up, GP? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, actually, Connor, I have applied for that one already. I'm currently trying to build out my UI UX portfolio, part of which is, y'all know how I've been working on the HUD for a very long time. Connor's actually been helping me. Lizzie, don't get mad at me, but also I've secretly been working on the HUD a little bit in the meantime. Oh wait, look. Oh, is Lively wallpaper not on? That's a bummer. What's going on? I want to make the thing just a little bit. But see, Lizzie, here's the thing though. I'm applying for UI and UX positions. I need, projects for my portfolio. So it was just a natural, I haven't been spending that much time on it, but I think that I've got something pretty special. You can tell me what you think. Finally, I've gotten Connor to be like, yeah, all right. That's the one. And maybe he's just being nice, but I don't think so because Connor's been pretty honest with me. Also, of course, still nice with his feedback, but pretty honest with me about the things that he thinks works about the HUD concepts and the things that he thinks don't. But it's like it's a nice coalescence of goals. Why is this not working? What's up, Liam? How you doing? Hey, Peon. What's up, crew? You have not missed a ton. we're just kind of shooting the shit thus far. Man, maybe if I lively wallpaper in this task, and then maybe now. I swear that this application, for as wonderful as it is, it tends to crash quite often. Doesn't look like I'll be getting it back. Also, I'm on a new monitor. Yo, CT, what is up? I have not seen you for a very long time, sister. Much appreciated for stopping by. I have a new monitor. This is something that I've been trying to orient the stream to, and hopefully I have it solid. So if there's any weirdness, I apologize for that. But just let me know and I'll get it adjusted. Yo, thank you for the prime sub, Pope Nope. Y'all, Hype Train, I think just got upgraded. So, I'm assuming that most of you have read the news post, but if you haven't, and for the VOD watchers back at home, so to speak, why don't we go ahead and kind of go... Oh, and if you recognize this song, as I'm sure many of you might... Oops, hold on. This is who does our current intro music, right? Marsha's Muses. I cannot recommend this channel highly enough. What the heck was that? Yo, thank you for the gifted subs, Connor. Much appreciated. Might be able to handle the Rift in 32.9. Yeah, no kidding. So, I shouldn't overpromise. I really should not. But I'm secretly trying to find time to yeet the city overhauls because they're just, I think, performatively bad for what they add. And our draw call limitation is still kind of very much in place. Oh, is it too low for you to hear the music? Here. What is the news? Oh, here. Let me go and I'll just do this first. So, the latest news post is all about the upcoming release. This one. Deep preview of release 4. So, here. Let me just go ahead and... Yeah, it really is Monique. And one of the things I wanted to do, because I've been experimenting with this for fun, on this stream, I was thinking we could hop in without the performance improvements and without this, with the cities in place, I should say, and then compare them to having the cities not in place, because it's kind of insane. It's really, really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Here, let me grab my microphone. Is this too weird if I bring it close to my mouth this way? How's the audio? A little bit loud? Crank it down. How about here? So I'm just going to go ahead and skim through here and kind of catch anyone who's not read this already up with some of the stuff we've been working on. That is an insane amount of draw calls. That is absolutely wild. That is too many. What is your performance at that rate? My gosh. I'd be slow to a crawl. A texture ordinator, like optimizer. The optimizing textures definitely helps. Honestly, it's just the amount of objects. Okay, anyway, without further ado. Let's see, hope you've had a wonderful summer thus far, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we're pushing the next update to Q4 2023. That is very important for you to know, excuse me, if you don't know that already, because there's a lot more going into it than we planned. So that's kind of the summary of this little intro section. There's the stream announcement, and why don't we just dive in really fast to the meat and potatoes, which is what we're really here for. So first things first, we're kicking off our new naming scheme with this next update. Okay, well it's release 4. That's easy. Major focuses are jobs and religion, as many of you know. However, R4 is getting a lot of balance fixes, bug fixes, and general improvements for our biggest outstanding issues and most common player feedback. So first and foremost, this is frankly what I'm the most excited to talk about, because I've already talked about religion. So Lizzie's missives are nuts. I've featured them a couple different times on the streams already. I think that reading through this list of current features kind of illustrates the real scope of this, which to me is nuts. And that's because Lizzie has been working on this for the entire time that I've been working on the other stuff for 1.2. And for this summer, if I'm honest with you guys, you so this summer's been gnarly for me, right? I've been looking for work. There's just weddings and events and such, and it's been really nice for the past couple weeks because we haven't been out of town for the first time in a couple months. That entire time that I've been sort of, I've been doing things here and there, but just a smidge compared to Lizzie. Lizzie, for that entire period of time, has been working on missives, has been working on bug fixes. So yeah, this is a part that I should read. I want to stress how much work Lizzie has put into this update. While I've been handling my IRL business, she has been steadily building and fixing, and she's almost singularly responsible for the fixes and development thus far. We love you, Lizzie. So it really is nuts, right? Let's check this out. So we've long loved Missives for the depth and role-playing opportunities it adds to settlements, but it doesn't take a rocket biologist to see where some additions are warranted. Thankfully, Lizzie has gone absolutely bonkers with her homegrown Missives expansion. So here's the list of features, if I may. Where there were once 9 missive types available per hold, there are now 35. These include crafting missives, cooking missives, fishing missives, and more. You can also check out more about the Missives expansion. Let me just preface here by checking out the community hour. Whose channel is that on? That's on Liam's channel, right? It's usually Liam. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so that's on Liam's channel. Go check out Liam's channel if you want to hear Lizzie doing her own interview about these features. I believe it was Liam, it was you, Lizzie, I believe SK was there, and then I don't think... maybe Kai was there and SK. One of you was not there for this one, but usually the 3 of them are there discussing all kinds of cool Wildlander stuff. Also Kai, it was SK who wasn't there, maybe then. So anyway, what do we got? Every outlaw refuge now contains a dark missives board offering 16 new missive types for unlawful characters, such as pickpocketing contracts, murder contracts, racketeering, and more that will let you discover yourself. So I won't dig too much into the stuff that's not listed there. That was on purpose. But this is probably, honestly, I don't even know if I would say this is the feature I'm most excited about, but it's the tie. And even calling it a feature is not really doing it justice. It's a full... it's like a whole ass other avenue of doing stuff. It's like a whole new world of role-playing opportunities that we just have not had before, that Missives hasn't had. I just think it's super fucking cool. Oh, 18. That's crazy. Darker jobs being the same board. They are on a secret board elsewhere. It's in the outlaw refuges of each place, right? So you can kind of think of the outlaw refuges as the nexus of not so lawful characters in each city. There's usually, I don't want to say in all cases, but just in case I'm wrong about that, but there's almost always, maybe always, a way to get into the outlaw refuges without going through the main areas of the cities, right? There's usually like you can route yourself through the sewers in order to get there, and that's very much by design because we want, let's say you have a bounty or something like that. We still want you to be able to go and kind of utilize the resources that the outlaw refuge has for that city. Specifically who it's for is people who are unlawful. You can get work, you can rest up. Lizzie did this also excellent work where she replaced the statics that we've always hated. I think they're very cool, to be clear. The statics are, what I mean by statics, if you don't know, is, how some mods will add versions of items that you recognize that you can't pick up. They look like items that you normally can pick up, but you just can't. Those are statics. Lizzie has replaced those with actual grabbable items, which is just wonderful because we cannot stand those. Again, visually they're great, but it's just very jarring when, I have a potion over here that I can take per usual, and I have a potion over there that I can't. And that preview link shows the missive board and the statics. Oh yeah, here. Check it out. Let's zoom this in. My voice might sound deeper because I'm holding the microphone up. Boots crate. You gotta have a boots crate. And there's a missives board in the back. You can see, excuse me. So it's really, really cool. Also, I'm glad that you gave me this image, Lizzie, because I can use it as a jumping off point for the UI stuff that I love to talk about so much. Is it still a boots crate when it has no boots in it? That's a good question. That's for the philosophers among us. Stack that in with the ship of Theseus. Okay. So, what else we got? So, I'm really excited about that, right? And again, I don't even think you can call that a feature so much as like a whole ass expansion or a whole new dimension to the gameplay. As far as features go, I know which one is my personal favorite, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So you got, let's see, more locations have been added for Thievery Missives, so you aren't visiting the same locations all the time, and those improvements do carry over to the Thieves Guild quests. That's great. My favorite one is next. Missive rewards now scale with missive difficulty. For example, crafting and gathering missives will factor in the value of produced and gathered goods, and kill missives, I should say combat missives maybe, will pay more for dangerous enemies. This keeps missives worth your time even as your character grows. So personally, that is my favorite feature. I think that's huge because previously, missives were kind of this... I think they're really cool conceptually, and I think most players like the fact that they exist thematically, we'll say. Pragmatically, they're really only useful for early game characters. It's kind of a shame where the nature of... And that's half true. There are some more difficult missives, right, that would be worth doing for higher level characters, but it takes a while before they even start to appear. And generally speaking, by that point, you've already stopped looking at the missive boards, right? So to me, having these missives changes, having missives now scale just directly to what they... In fact, I saw a question about this. Yeah, fairly useless by level 10 is a great way to put it, Liam. And level 10 for a lot of players is quite the achievement. It takes them a long time to get there, especially when they're new and everything's still very difficult, and especially if they were vanilla Skyrim players who are, you know, kind of getting acclimated to the difficulty. But for players who kind of know the ropes, you can get to level 10 relatively easily, and then the missives kind of just become, you know, an afterthought. The way that they scale is the coolest part, and I'll talk about that because I see a question right here. How does a missive difficulty scale? Levels, number of times done, or just RNG? So the way that they scale, in a sense, it's not even really scaling. It's really simple to understand, and it's really, I think, the best way to do it. Basically, well, let's use a few different missive archetypes as examples. Whatever you do, like the literal sort of subject of the missive quest, maybe I should say, is what will determine the value. This is super direct when it comes to like crafting missives, cooking missives, fishing, gathering, hunting, anything where you are either gathering a commodity or soul gems, alchemy, right? Anything where you are producing or collecting a good, it's very straightforward. You will just be like, your payment will take a look at what you gathered or produced. It will factor in the value of that good. It will apply like a, you know, effort and skill essentially multiplier, and that is the end payment that you will get, right? The multiplier differentiates based on, or I should say it varies, not differentiates. But it's basically designed so that you will never be in a scenario, which is a common scenario right now, where the value of what you're handing in ends up being more, and in some cases significantly more than the payout that you're getting. It really kind of creates this strange happenstance where it's like, why would I give this away when I could just sell it myself and earn, in some cases, significantly more stuff, more money, more goods, right? So that's the most basic way. Yo, thank you very much for the, 7 months shots. Much appreciated. So that's the most basic scaling. The other thing that we've just done is adjust the payout of, like, one of the internal sort of mechanics in Missives is like a bespoke difficulty. You have the what is it? You have basically each missive is given its own internal difficulty rating. I believe it ranges from like easy, normal, hard to very hard. Very hard being something like, you know, go and fight a dragon. Very easy, you know, kill a wolf or, you know, fish. But also, like, the way that the ingredients versions work with that is like the most rare ingredients will typically be higher difficulty contracts. So you get paid more for those too, right? And that's kind of fundamentally how it works. Which I think is really, really cool because, again, the whole purpose here is that you don't want, like, everyone's still working, you know, throughout their character's career, so to speak. Why would you, I don't know, why would you not be able to find work that is commensurate with the current skill level that you have if your skills are superlative, right? Or anywhere between beginner and superlative. Let's see here. Oh, and the other thing too is that more missives will spawn of each difficulty, right? So that's a big one because sometimes, you know, depending on your kind of RNG, depending on how many choose to spawn whenever you enter the hold and enter the missives board, you can just end up with sort of nothing to do, right? So let's see here. Hopefully that answers the question. If not, please go ahead and continue to ask. Downloaded Wildlander the other day and I enjoyed it a lot, but the survival thing is a bit repetitive. Have you thought about making a version with less or no survival stuff? Not really, to be honest with you. If anything, we're going to be integrating survival even more heavily, so that might turn you off of the experience. I like to think that the way it's going to be integrated is more fun and less repetitive than it is now. Let me table that for now because that will actually be related to the UI. I'll show that to you in a little bit. Kind of how we plan on doing, you know, the injuries and things of that nature. But really, it's like the purpose of the survival stuff is really just about immersion. It's like giving you a reason to engage with the mechanics and also just making it feel like you're in a world, right, where you actually have to worry about these things. Like the idea that you can just run around. I mean, I don't know. I'll get to it in a little bit. I don't want to go too far. Mentioned before that you're going to use an open cities alternative, which changes your priority for city performance optimization. Was the current plan to get 60 FPS? Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that, Cat Cut. We were just talking about, I would like to find time in this release, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to because it could be pretty complex with all the changes that I've made to cities and all the custom patching that we've done. But at the very least, kind of what I would like to do is like yeet a lot of the current city and town overhauls because I think what they are costing us in performance is just not worth what we gained in terms of functionality. That's really a stretch goal. It's easier for maybe the major cities. Some of the smaller towns are a little bit harder because they're a little bit more carefully integrated. But if I did that, I mean, eventually I'm going to do that. Then that obviously makes it a lot easier to consider something like Open Cities or the Open Cities alternative or whatever it is. It's been a while since I looked in on that project, so I would need to kind of reacclimate myself anyway. And I can guarantee to you that even kind of paring the cities down is a stretch for this update. Getting an Open Cities implementation is guaranteed not going to be this update. Let's see. Are we thinking of implementing AI voice acting for unvoiced dialogue? Are we talking like new voice actors, or are we talking like a wanking skeever fix where the unvoiced dialogue is filled out? Let's see, what's from out of curiosity, Missives, we added a standalone. I do believe that Lizzie is trying to make it standalone. It's not very easy, so it's completely up to her. If she is able to make it standalone, I know she's going to, and then that way she can upload it as her own separate file, and then we just include it in the pack. Also, thank you, Lizzie. Do they work on a level basis? I might be far behind here, but really the answer there is no, at least thus far. It's kind of just because, I mean, player level is a little bit more useful in Wildlander for indicating sort of what the player is able to do, but still not that useful. Enemy level is ridiculously, what's the word? Irrelevant. To the point where I'll be removing it like in the HUD update because we constantly get feedback from people who are like, why is this, why is this level 5 bandit kicking my ass? And then there's like a level 25 creature that I can just sort of mop the floor with. Perks are everything, right? Synthesis, patch for exterior cities, mass patch the city changes. Oh, that's really cool. Pick up an endgame missive straight away, and only you were stopping yourself from picking something. Yes, that is generally how it works, pumpkin cake. Let's see. As long as the FPS doesn't fall at my VRR limit. Well, if I get the cities out, then maybe. Yeah, I mean, FLP is guaranteed. Like, that's a higher priority for this update. That is guaranteed to be in there, so, you can count on that being finished. Yeah, the AI companion Herika, that's some crazy shit, right? We were just talking about that. It's apparently too expensive to, implement right now because of the tokens and how much they cost for stuff like OpenAI. But it's really crazy. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but essentially you have a companion who is like her you can say whatever you want to her, right? And you can, I don't know exactly what she's used for in their implementation, but for us, our launcher dev, had this idea. So like Lizzie and the launcher dev, Matt, have been feeding information about Wildlander into, I know Lizzie was using Wallow for our AI chatbot, right? Long story short, imagine if you had like a tutorial companion who was there with you in the game, who had access to all the same information that the bot does, and you could just sort of ask it stuff in the game. Now, obviously, this is maybe a feature that you'd want to turn off once you are kind of, you know the deal. But it's almost like a little, I don't know. I thought it was really nice because not everyone likes to sort of alt tab and go and check stuff like wikis and things of that nature. I understand that. I don't mind. In fact, sometimes I really enjoy that. There are many games that I play where, my companion window is a browser that has 4,000 tabs open to a million different little things. And again, this is not, going to be in this update or is not necessarily viable yet, but I thought it was such an interesting idea. And the proof of concept, like, man, the AI that Matt was showing us, learning stuff about Wildlander, the questions he was asking it and the answers he was coming up with were just, they floored me. I couldn't believe it. Let's see, exterior city synthesis patcher, nav edits. Wow, that's pretty crazy, Nichols. Let's see. All the levels for all NPCs. Peon, you're talking about like NPC level, like level? Thing with AI is ethically has to be people that consented to have their voice replicated. I mean, I think that that's true. I think that it's really, right now, it's very, very tricky, right? Because you have, like, if you go and look at some of Wanking Skeever's 11 Labs mods, like the quest mods, I think that they're incredible. There's many, I believe, that already have like an approved rating on the roadmap. Now they have 11 Labs AI, and if you listen to it, you're like, wow. And they're just, as far as I know, it's the AI from the actors who are in Skyrim, right? Like the voice actors who have been contracted and were paid to be part of the game. Their voices have been used to model for 11 Labs, and now it's possible to make these whole ass other quests that usually, or previously I should say, had unvoiced AI, and now they have voiced AI that, frankly, in some cases, you can still tell if you listen, but in some cases, if someone had not told me, I would have been like, what? Like, I didn't realize that was AI. So that's really cool, technically. I think that at the end of the day, I've seen people sort of make the argument that just because, or sorry, maybe a better forming of this argument is that the voice actors who were paid to do work for Skyrim are not going to come back out of this argument. I apologize if I make it sound nonsensical, but I think that frankly it's because it's kind of nonsensical at its core. But it's like, well, it should be okay. Just, across the board to utilize the voices of the actors who contributed to Skyrim originally, because I don't know, the reasons I've seen are that, you know, their voices are already in the game. I don't see why that's a reason, because they're not likely to ever come back and do the additional work for Skyrim or for these mods, which is true, but I also don't see how that's a reason that you wouldn't need their sort of consent. It's a very tricky area, right? Suffice to say, I'm hesitant to utilize some of these mods when we don't know whether the original voice actors would be okay with that specific usage. Some people say that, well, you know, I mean, it's that classic thing, right? There's so many content aggregates and so many things nowadays that are like, you know, like let's just use, I'm going to use a random Instagram meme account as an example here. A content aggregate that takes content from other places that other people have created, uploads that content to their Instagram account, right? Their meme account. And under each thing, now, in the bare minimum, those people are credited. Not everybody does that, but that should be the case. But there's always this little disclaimer that says, you know, if you see your content here, then and you don't want it there, message us and we'll take it down, right? So it implies this sort of don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness once you've already done it kind of thing. And maybe, I don't know, it's certainly tricky. I think in an instance like with the Skyrim mod one, I'll allow the idea that you're not exactly missing out maybe on additional work as a voice actor, because you probably aren't going to go back and voice these like mods or whatever. But still, that's not the same as having permission from the person whose voice it is. And that's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to sort of ethical concerns regarding AI voices. So I don't know. It's certainly a tricky spot, right? I'm sure you guys have said a million things by the time I finished my little diatribe there. So let's see. SK says, any future plans on making money more valuable, less useless after 3035? Sort of yes, sort of no. One of the things I'd like to do is make money a little bit less easy to get in some cases. That's one end of the problem. We also plan on adding like a bunch of stuff like player homes and, you know, just coming up with cool money sinks for players to sink their money into, I guess. But I haven't, to be honest, thought about that sector of the, like that part of the, we'll say the economy or the game balance is not my primary focus at the moment. Also, Mad Men, and that's terrifying. I played it for 4 hours, then Herika broke the fourth wall and asked, who are you really? It's like, fuck off, AI. Yeah, most definitely, though, I agree that it would indirectly make things like Missives more useful. Well, that's the other thing, too, is we would like to expand. I know Lizzie's done some of this where, you know, the Missives don't just give you money, they also give you stuff. We would like to expand that into things like, you know, experience. I don't believe that's in there right now. To where, yeah, we don't want money just to be the only thing you end up getting, right? Voice it with other actors, not the ones in game. For the sake of copyright reasons, you can do it yourself and generate the lines. Yeah, so if you have someone's express permission, then, you know, it's a different story. Let's see. AI NPC merchant follower. Any thoughts on Dragonborn voiceover? I have never actually seen it. Path of Exile. Oh yeah, Path of Exile is totally one of those games. Lizzie says, I can't stick a bloody Brummy in there. Says who? Certainly I can. AI is weird too with emotions. If I load your streams in AI, then use that generate your voice for the follower. That would be hilarious. Yeah, I don't think that my voice from my streams would be particularly fitting. I feel like as long as no one's making money off of it and there isn't any malicious intent behind it, it's fine, but I get the consent thing. I mean, the consent thing is really important. Also, I wouldn't exactly say that people aren't making money off of it. Most of the mods that feature this kind of thing, to my knowledge, are likely opted in for donation points. There's a such thing as, material damages in a legal sense, where it's not just about the money that you're not making with the thing that the creator uploads, but it's about the money that the actor perhaps could have made had their voice not been utilized to fill the role, so to speak, right? I'm not taking a stance on that, just illustrating the various kind of directions, right? Every NPC is me. Yes. Fantastic. Right, AI must be modeled after something, so it comes from a real voice, and AI can't do miracles. The voice sample can't do good voice acting, neither can the AI. Also true. What is up, Ildrum? How you doing? Let's see. What if you modeled AI over an impressionist who can mimic the original voice actor? Well, in that case, I mean, again, I suppose if that person gave consent, the performer, this is where you start to get into really gray territory as far as copyright goes. If someone does a Michael Jackson impression really well and then lends that ability to a production of some kind, and it's marked as parody, not like you wouldn't really need a disclaimer to know that, but maybe that was a bad example. Let's use Troy Baker, everyone's favorite, our boy Joel / God, he's a million different. He's like Nolan North and the rest of those heads. If I do a really good Troy Baker impression and then lend my voice to people to use as like a Troy Baker replacement, AI replacement, again, good voice acting can't really be replaced by AI, at least not at this point, I think hardly ever. But it's an interesting ethical dilemma, is it not, when you consider can someone copyright their voice? Can someone copyright their vocal style? I mean, I don't think so. Not historically, but the law always trails behind technology, so who knows what it will say in the coming years. Ultimately up to the voice actors to make their decision on that. I don't know exactly what that refers to, CT, but I agree on, I'm pretty sure whatever it is. The worst thing is that people are doing not safe for work content. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think the most heinous utilization of this sort of technology that we've seen, and it's happened a bunch, and it's happened with content creators that I know, not even just voice actors, but also artists. So like AI art. I think the grossest utilization of AI technology has been to essentially put words in the mouth of people, oftentimes literally just to fuck with them, to troll them, to make it seem as though the people who are being simulated by the AI are saying and doing things that the original person has not consented to. A great example of this would be the webcomic artist Sarah Anderson, who I just absolutely love. She had a really scary series of events in which 4chan basically targeted her and had AI make webcomics that looked as though they were like hers, looked as though she had made them, but they just said a bunch of anti-Semitic stuff. So she is just suddenly, when someone alerted her to it, it's like, did you make these comics? These like very blatantly anti-Semitic comics that look as though you drew them, but obviously don't say things that you would ever say. That's, to me, very similar to someone's voice being modeled and used to make not safe for work content. Ultimately, it still comes down to the consent, but it's like, man, it's definitely in my mind, or probably for most people, gnarlier. Maybe not. Maybe there's no difference in a legal sense, but it's certainly different to have your voice used both without your consent and for like sex work content. I think a lot of people would kind of not be super stoked about that. They sign a contract that says we can do whatever we want with this footage after you've recorded it. They might not actually have a say. It's an interesting question, Pumpkin Cake, because maybe this is where this is where like lawyers will have to dig in and say, okay, like let's say, so a common like format of contract work, right, is like once I like I'm making content for you. You have contracted me to make this content. Let's say in the case of a voice actor, it's a voice recording for several lines. You own all the rights to that content. After I produce it for you, I am essentially selling my time and selling the end product directly to you. I don't have any licensing or royalties on the content itself. It is for you to use in all of your commercial products, right? And I no longer have the rights to that content in terms of ownership. That's a pretty common structure for a lot of, contract work. But when that was drafted, of course, AI voice acting was not a thing yet, and most people did not anticipate it at all. So this is where lawyers get together and get to essentially figure out what the law is. As stated, this is where you get laws start to get updated, or new laws get made, or old laws get repealed. But it's a real question of like, when does that phrasing, that specific phrasing of like, you are permitted to use the content that I produced for you in perpetuity, does using that content to model an AI to produce additional voice content, does that fall under the umbrella of that language? We just don't know in some cases. Or at least as far as I know, no one's really sort of set a precedent on this yet. Let's see. Man, I must be... Wait, yes, I know Path of Exile. I might watch Exile Con. I don't usually... frankly, I don't watch anything live. Watching things live makes me anxious. I like to watch things after the fact. That's why I never watch GDQ while it's happening. I always watch at like every VOD after. I don't know why, but it just does. It's the same feeling that I get when I watch live theater. I think live theater is fantastic, and the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just sweating because I'm so afraid that someone is gonna like mess up and get embarrassed or something. I don't know. It's like a weird hang up that I have. I don't always not watch live content, but it's definitely the kind of thing that I like to watch sort of at my leisure. I'm strange about stuff like that. Someone uses Ayala's voice to voice a porn mod. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would open you up for damages. Do you plan on discussing balancing for Sneak Health region others in this stream? Sure, SK, I can do that. I realize it's already been an hour. You guys can't sidetrack me, or else I won't get to anything. Although, frankly, again, that's what these streams are for. You can voice it, blah, 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 blah. Jennifer Hale spoke against it on Twitter. I have not seen a major voice actor that I know of, or really any voice actor, major or otherwise, express that they weren't concerned about this stuff. So if anything, that kind of tells you where it's at. Yeah, so it's like, as funny as the Joe Biden and Trump AI voice memes are, they are scary for the future of politics. It's so true. It is, man, some of those things are fucking hilarious, and yet it is terrifying. You know what I mean? It really, to me, it shows you more than ever the importance of critical theory education. I personally believe that this is kind of one of the most effective, at least that we know of, methodologies of combating like disinformation, misinformation. It's just sort of, I'm an extreme advocate of making education part of a core curriculum that helps people to understand propaganda, how it's produced, how this, not even just like propaganda in the traditional sense, but just how the messages we consume on a daily basis are engineered and created by someone, designed by someone to have a certain effect. How all of us live in that kind of environment without even realizing it. Even when you are trained for critical evaluation of the messaging that's kind of that you're hearing every day, it can still be so difficult, and we absorb so much unconsciously. So just training people to sort of, how to spot messaging that is kind of attempting to coerce you into a certain way of thinking, or how to verify the veracity of the messages that you are hearing. I think these are extremely important skills. I think they're skills like any that can be taught. At least it's helpful to try and teach them. And I think it's only going to become more. I think that those skills are only going to become more and more important as we enter this very obviously, seemingly inevitable era of, you know, AI content, for lack of a better term. Let's see. This is scary. Isn't Disney already storing every actor's likeness and voice with contracts to use it after they can't act anymore or die? Oh my god. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry, I'm just catching up, Lizzie. We'll talk about Wildlander. AI discussion stream. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so how about this? We'll move on from here. I mean, this is basically the Missives. I think that... yo, thank you for the Prime sub, Ordinary Cavalry. So what do we got? We got new Missive boards in nearly every town with an inn. Riverwood, Rorikstead, Iverstead, Stonehills, etc. Y'all know how it is. So now you don't need to go into the mainland cities in order to get these jobs. I think that's super cool. Missive titles provide more details so you know what you're getting into. That's something we really wanted to do because there were so many missives that we would just accept and then kind of yeet once we knew what they were about and decided that they were either too difficult for us or they were, you know, not what we wanted to do. Missives now recognize a much wider list of items and ingredients, including hunting resources, fishing resources, and mod-specific alchemy ingredients. That's a fun one. Completing missives for NPCs now raises their disposition. Also very fun. Good tie-in to relationships and sort of dialogue and... excuse me. And what do we got? Yeah, general quality of life improvements and bug fixes. Most notably, guards no longer auto-kill disguised vampires. That's going to be a fun surprise, I think, for a lot of players who are used to just letting the missives... quests, the vampire quests, sort of auto-complete in a sense. Yeah, so it's a free missive, right? And vampires are hard to kill, at least most of the time. Not as hard in missives because they don't have the same perks. So yeah, I think it's really, really cool. I don't know, it's really nuts, and I think you guys are gonna like it too, and I hope you will. So 50 Shades of Prey brings us to Religion, the other major expansion in Release 4. Our implementation is an expansion of the excellent Religion 3.0 by Iron Dusk, whose help has been instrumental thus far. Here's a quick summary of the features if you missed any of the dev streams. So I'm going to kind of walk you through these, and then what I thought might be sort of fun to do is I can show you... well, I don't know. How about this? Why don't I... is it interesting for you guys if I show you kind of exactly how... the religions and the deities work underneath the hood? Or would you prefer that, you know, I don't spoil that kind of thing for you? Eventually it will be like on the wiki, but yeah, I know they have perks now, Lizzie. I don't think they did before, right? Host a poll on whether to show deities or spoil. Yeah, okay, well, let's do a poll. I mean, worst case, we can always just, you know, anyone, if we want to look at it. And this is going to be like looking at code, essentially, right? So let's go poll. Say, question. Look at deity code under the hood or nah? Nah. Okay, you guys have 3 minutes to vote because I'll be talking for at least a little bit. Oh yeah, agree, Cat Cut. Yo, thank you for the tier 1 sub, Expedition Man. Much appreciated. Are the widgets still working properly on my stream overlay? That's something I wanted to check, but I can't really check it right now. Please let me know. Okay, so here's a summary. This is not spoilery, right? So the current religion buffs are replaced by a full-fledged worship system for all 9 divines, all 17 Daedra. I should asterisk that, where it's like, as of right now, like 13 Daedra. But I'm hoping to have them completed. So, and all 13 constellations. Worshipping is simple and natural. This is my favorite part of the whole thing, by the way. You act according to an entity's principles and gain favor. Defy an entity's principles and be shunned, or worse. That is... to me, it's, I mean, I've said it time and time again, it's why I wanted to go with Iron Dusk's Religion mod over pretty much any other one. I just love how naturalistic it's designed, and I'm just so excited to continue that design. I don't know. And like, that's something I mean, even if I don't show you guys underneath the hood, I can kind of illustrate it a little bit, but it's really nice. I think that you are just, all you do to participate in worship and gaining favor with various deities and whatever is just do the things that you want to do, and the deities will look at your deeds and pass judgment the way that we pretty much kind of imagine deities, at least in some religions or whatever, to kind of operate, right? The coolest thing, and this is to me like the cornerstone of everything, is that there's no limitation on how many deities you're worshiping. Let me preface that, or I guess postface that, by saying I understand this is not shade on any sort of religion mod that requires you to sort of devote yourself to a specific deity and then you start growing your, favor or whatever resource it is with that deity. I completely get that. From a design standpoint, especially from a technical like back end standpoint, that can be a much more sensible way to do things. I just think it's so interesting, the idea of like, it's like this, maybe. Let's say that all of us in chat, we're all in a room together, right? And how do I put this? To me, when you have a religion system that requires that you can only worship like one deity at a time, right? It's kind of like being in a room at a party, or it's the big stream party, right? And we're all hanging out, and it's kind of like, imagine, so like Lizzie's standing right there, and I go up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and make friends with Lizzie. That means that Lizzie's gonna try and, how do I put this? I'm gonna make friends with Lizzie, and that means that I can't form an opinion, none of you can form an opinion about me, because I'm not trying to make friends with you guys. I'm trying to make friends with only Lizzie. So it's like everything that I'm doing towards that goal, you can't judge in any way, right? Let's use a really fucked up, crazy example. We'll use a simple one, actually. Let's say that, here's Liam, right? So Liam's at the party, and Liam really likes people who just like, there's a, like a craft table or there's snacks for the party, and you just have hella fucking all this food that's been laid out for all of us to enjoy. And Liam, he just thinks it's really funny whenever people at a party go up and start putting their hands in all of the food, right? He just thinks it's hilarious. I don't have to eat it. I just put my hands all over it, all up in it, right? So needless to say, a lot of other people would probably not be very happy about that if I did this. Having you only able to worship one deity is kind of like let's imagine you guys are all the other deities. It's kind of like being like, okay, I know that I'm about to go and put my hands all over the food. You're not allowed to dislike that. You're not allowed to have an opinion on that, because I'm doing that because right now I'm focused on Liam. Me and Liam are going to be good friends, and that's what I want to do is try and do this because he thinks it's funny. So none of you guys can have an opinion on what I'm doing, good or bad, right? Even if you think it's funny too, I don't care. I'm not even talking about you, right? I'm talking about this only. It's all about Liam. That to me is the structure of how this works, where it's just kind of strange. You know what I mean? It's kind of strange that, like, let's just, easy examples, fucking RK and Meridia, right? Meridia is the one who hates undead. Is that correct? She hates vampires specifically, right? Please correct. Well, it doesn't matter. If she's not, I'm pretty sure that's her. Yeah, because she's the one who gives you Dawnbreaker. Sorry. So if RK hates undead and Meridia hates vampires, who are just like a subset of undead. Oh, she hates all undead. Okay, well, there you go. So RK hates undead, so does Meridia. Now, RK and Meridia, maybe they're not the best of friends. Maybe they've got some pretty important differences culturally, but on this particular thing, they happen to be aligned. Meridia doesn't like undead, Arcade doesn't like undead. So if I'm killing undead, to me, it makes way more sense and makes it feel much more contiguous as a system that gets me points with both Arcade and Meridia. Now, it could be that if I'm leaning more towards Meridia, we'll say she likes some other things, maybe she's down for me to do some stuff that Arcade is a little bit more sus about. I do those things, and that's great for Meridia, and then Arcade is kind of like, I don't think so. That's good. That's fine. That's cool. You know what I mean? I just think that that's such a natural and cool way for a religion system to work. Or really just, it's not even just religion. It's more just like factional relationships, right? Think back to any like awesome RPG with sort of sandbox factional relationship systems. And this is how it works. Like, you know, in Fallout New Vegas, as an easy example, I don't like my reputation with the various groups is affected by whatever actions I take. It's like, just because I'm focused on the NCR right now doesn't mean that if I go and, you know, blow up a Legion stronghold, I guess, like the Legion's going to be pissed at that and the NCR is going to be stoked about it, right? What if I go and blow up like one of the gangs or what are the tribes, like the Great Khans? I can't really remember what the Legion and the NCR think about them in particular, but let's just say that, you know, they're both not really fans of the Great Khans and I go and fuck up a bunch of Great Khans. Yeah, the Legion and the NCR don't exactly like each other, but but like their relationship with me is like, yeah, okay, I think it's cool that you did that. I like this. So I don't know. To me, it's a more sensible, I think viewing it in terms of a factional relationship system makes a lot more sense to me. And that's why I like this implementation. Hey, are there any changes about graphics, vanilla Skyrim graphics you mentioned earlier? Poetogryph, I don't quite understand. Are there graphical changes coming in this update? Is that what you're asking? Yes, Matty Coates, that is correct. John Smith, what if I want to be undead to make it easier to murder undead in the name of my deity? Is there a breaking point where killing a certain number of undead make it forgivable? For whom, John Smith? I think for Meridia would be pretty okay. Oh shit, the poll, happened. What was the result? I missed it. Does it not show up in chat? What the hell? What was the poll result? Don't gaslight me. Tell me the truth. Also, where's the music? Yes, please. Show me one. By how much, Lizzie? What was the percent? Show me that code. Wow, okay. Looks like we're looking at it. Okay, well, I can show you guys kind of exactly how it works then. Right? Let's check it out. Yeah, that's wild, Cat Cut. That seems pretty cool to me. Initial birth sign without allowing the player to change their month of birth, not being incentivized to find new stones. Yeah, birth signs they're tricky, right? Because you're kind of like locked in. It's an interesting design challenge. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys how the deities fundamentally work. If you do not want this level of spoiler, look away now. But to be honest, it's not that much of a spoiler. I've basically alluded to every component of this in the update itself, just not really spelled it out for you, right? And this will answer your question, John. The short answer to what if I want to be undead to make it easier to murder undead in the name of my deity, is there a breaking point where killing a certain number of undead make it forgivable? The answer would be maybe. It depends on the math. It's possible. The reason that it's possible, and this is what I'll kind of illustrate right now, is that the stuff you do just kind of has a value, right? And it's possible to like be shitty in the eyes of a deity and then do enough things that they like to where your shittiness is outweighed by your doing stuff that they like. It actually kind of is like a mathematical equation at the end of the day. So let's do Visual Studio Code. That's fine. Here's what I'm gonna do. Let's go to, actually, this will be, all right. I'm gonna open up the religion script source and quest script. So I'm gonna warn you now, it's a doozy. I'm gonna take this, we're gonna put it in this window. Wait, no, shift, what did I make? There we go. So this is the script, right? It's very long. There's a lot to it. This is basically what dictates everything in religion. Now, if it looks complicated, that's because it is, but it's not as complicated as you might think. It's just, there's a lot of deities to be concerned with, right? There's a lot of this is essentially like taking the mechanisms and applying them to what? 9 divines, 17 daedrus, that's 26. How many constellations? There's 13, so 39. Not counting, so Iron Dusk started to put in support for some of the, like, we'll call it extended pantheons, right? That's probably whatever he built out will be there, but I've spoken about this for, well, first of all, I think 39 is an insane amount of you know, I don't know what you call it, insane amount of options right then and there. But also the problem with doing the extended pantheon is that there's just not as much stuff about them in Skyrim. They're not really, occasionally there's like a book that will mention one of them. We could always add more, but that's exactly what you need to do. You would need to add more stuff about them in order to make them even somewhat comparable, right? Because as it is right now, as you'll see in a moment, the level of what I like to call reactivity for the existing Daedra, the ones that are complete, the existing deities, is really just second to none. I think it's so very cool. Both the stuff that Iron Dusk put in to have the deities sort of react to, right? But mostly just the skeleton that he built to allow deities to consider different things. It's really quite genius, and that's what I'm going to show you right now, okay? So, at the very baseline, where's my bookmarks? That's open a folder or workspace first. What the hell? Okay, well, I guess that plugin that I got works on not a file basis, but that's fine. I roughly know where stuff is. So we're gonna go get worth total. Hold on, I don't have my bookmarks, so I'm gonna have to kind of find these. Total worth, blah 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 blah. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so these are your fundamental functions, right? Get divine's worth. Oh, there it is. Well, hold up a second. Total get divine's virtues, get divine sins, get divine's repentance, blah blah. So this is actually a pretty decent sort of explanation, right? So here's the divines, and I would say here, I'll zoom in. Sorry about that. Let me. How do I zoom in? Actually, I've never tried to zoom in on Visual Studio Code. How do I do this? Does anyone know? Can you zoom? Zoom? This is a search. That's definitely not zoom. I have never actually done this. We just have to put glasses on, you know? Hold on a second. I'm gonna say Control scroll does not work. That was actually the first thing I tried. Zoom in Visual Studio Code. Oh, I have to use, I guess I should have guessed that as well. Let's see, Control plus. No, that doesn't seem to work either. Accessibility, view appearance. It's weird that that wouldn't work. Well, let's try. View appearance. Zoom in. There we go. Why is that not working? Oh, there we go. Sick. All right, how's that? Can we play Wildlander without EMB or graphics mods? Oh, yes, absolutely. Podogryph. 110% you can. Okay, so this is kind of our fundamental formula, we'll say. Now, the divines are a little bit different than the Daedra, and I can go ahead and show that to you, like the difference, but this is a pretty solid kind of, I think, explanation. So your total worth, right, which is what you are primarily, the way that this works at a fundamental level is that you pray to your divine, pray to a divine. You can ask them for a gift or a blessing, or it's called a blessing for divines. It's called a gift for the Daedra. Whether or not they like you and how much they like you determines essentially the strength of, I'll just say, what they'll do to you. It's not even, you know, if someone really fucking hates you, they'll give you a gift, all right, especially the Daedra. But the divines will too. They can curse you. But the general kind of feeling is that, at least as of now, you won't be like massively punished. You won't be punished for stuff unless you try to like speak and confer with the Daedra and try to get them to you know, to give you something, essentially. The way that this is determined is through this formula. So you got get divine's virtues. So basically all the things, function is going to check for all the things that you've done that for this divine they like. Get divine sins. This is checking for the stuff you've done that they don't like. Get divine's repentance. I believe this one is like, let me just double check this. I don't want to spread misinformation. I'm going to double check. Here we need the array. Value player's repentance. Get deity name. Repent divine. Function called divine. Get deity name. Get divine's forgiveness. To be honest, I don't remember exactly how the repentance functions factor in. Sins, repentance. But presumably it's some sort of rubber band bounce back effect where, you know, if you are, what's it called? Here, maybe a direct answer to your question, or indirect answer to your question, John, is that there's a repentance mechanic, at least for the divines. To be honest, I'm a little bit less familiar with the divines specifically because they're all complete, and the Daedra are the ones that I've been working on filling out. So they work a little bit differently. There's not really a repentance like factor for them, which should kind of illustrate some of the difference in how they view things. They're very fun, by the way. The Daedra are, they are special. Update divine's forgiveness. Sets repentance to 0, sets forgiveness to make total worth positive. So I think that this is something where if you attempt to repent for your sins, it's a reset mechanic. So it is. It's like a rubber banding mechanic, I think, to bring you back to a neutral state where you can not just, be fucked forever with the divines, because they're a little bit chiller, right? They're a little bit more forgiving. They're nicer. They're the good ones, quote unquote. But anyway, at a pretty basic level, you do things. The divines individually will decide based on criteria that is set in this script, and I'll go through an example. You do things, they decide if they like it, they decide if they don't like it, they balance all of your deeds, and depending on the sort of value that you end up with, when you ask them for a blessing, they'll do any number of things. They might not, they'll just be like, who are you? You haven't done shit that I care about, go away. If you've done some stuff they like, maybe they'll give you a nice little gift, kind of like a, hey, attaboy, you know, good job. If you have if you're their champion, right, and you've been at it for a while, same thing, but they're like, you're great, I love you, take my finest gifts, champion. And if they really don't like you, the divines, they will curse you with stuff, but let me just say that it's most of the time does not compare with what the Daedra will do to you if they really don't like you. And frankly, some of even now the Daedra, so for some of them, both in what's already there and kind of my philosophy and how I've been designing sort of the missing ones, let's just say that in some cases the difference between a Daedra's gift and a Daedra's curse, well, suffice it to say this: the curses for the Daedra are still called gifts. So it's tricky depending on what, even if a Daedra really likes you, sometimes being really liked by a Daedra does not exactly mean, you know, everything's going to be all smiles and roses for you. But yeah, the Daedra are pretty crazy. Anyway, I'm going to give you an example here. I hope you can't unwittingly get shit on by a god. You cannot, John, or at least this is why that I think it's designed this way. I think this is specifically why Iron Dusk built this as he did. let's say that I just do a bunch of stuff that really pisses off, I'm going to say, all of the divines. I'm a murdering, thieving bastard. I shit on shrines, and I spit on beggars, and I kick puppies in the street, and I'm just a fucking dickhead, right? Like a real shit. Because the divines, they do like individual things, but on the whole, they do all collectively like, you know, your standard like good acts, right? So yeah, you're just a real shitter. Divines hate this guy. You, in that sense, you know, they're not happy with you, and if you're not aware of that, then you might be in trouble when you go to ask them for a blessing. But that's kind of the kicker. They're not really going to do anything unless you have the sheer audacity to ask them for a blessing when you are this absolute bastard asshole, right? If you do that, you might be in some trouble. If you don't, if you're like, yeah, I'm a prick, but like, you know, I get that like we're not friends, you, me, divine, so like, you know, you to yours and me to mine, then you'll be okay. And I think it's designed that way so that you don't just sort of end up totally fucked by something that you never saw coming and didn't do anything to sort of, you know, introduce, I guess, if that makes sense. Can you choose a patron deity when making a character? So not yet, Sankhazo, am I pronouncing that correctly? But that is definitely part of the upcoming, not in this version, but upcoming character creation overhaul. There's definitely going to be some, because I mean, it's all about asking you about your backstory. Call you Sank? Gotcha. Thank you. Sank. The whole thing of creating the characters for us, right, is it's like being able to fill out your character's history, your backstory. So we will definitely, when we, you know, are addressing that stuff, definitely allow you to have and in fact, you know, there's already so many things going into this update, but maybe it wouldn't be entirely difficult to just let you pick a deity or something and just add a little bit of points to your worth. I'll have to see about it, but if not in this update, and likely not in this update, but certainly in the future. How about low-level punishments regardless of involvement, as well as low-level rewards? So the low-level punishments regardless of involvement would be great, John. This is where it's definitely a tricky... Like, you can make the argument that it is both fun and interesting if the divines don't just have an influence on your life only when you've asked them. I don't know this. I've spoken with Iron Dust quite a lot about the various, you know, the structure, the design of this mod, and he's been, my God, so helpful. I cannot stress enough in helping us do this. I have not asked him specifically why it's designed to where, you know, really you only have an impact. They only have an impact, once you've asked them or attempted to get their guidance, their blessings. I'm guessing he designed it that way because, you know, it could be kind of disastrous if suddenly the divines were just able to fuck up your life, or if the Daedra were able to fuck up your life really intensely, right? However, I think most of us would agree that it would be kind of fun if the divines could exert some degree of influence over your story, especially unexpected, because of what you've done, right? So maybe in the future we could add some sort of mechanic to where, like, you know, being a horrible bastard does invoke some degree of wrath from like the divines, or, you know, if you're just whatever it is, if you have really, I can think of ways to do it on a technical level quite easily. Actually, you would just sort of periodically check for, you know, all the deities, whether they like you or most importantly, if they don't like you, and then maybe have something happen, right? Because they don't like you. Like, you could easily do that. You could just set even like a timed check where it says, hey, get all the functions that are already here, right? Calculate the worth. If anyone is below this point, like, fuck you up this way. Wrath from a god because of your race. I mean, that's something that exists in Elder Scrolls, I guess. So long as I don't feel like a streamer with interactive mods. Most certainly not. Neon Neko, hi, you're going to do another playthrough series on YouTube? You're pretty talented. That is very kind of you to say, and the answer is yes. That is one of the things. It's a tentative yes. I would really like to do that, and it's been a long time, and I sort of need to have the YouTube pop with some of the content that we're going to be bringing to it, so if it helps, and it's fun. So I am very much going to be trying to do that. It is not as high on my list of priorities right now, just because of all that stuff that I mentioned earlier, between working on this, working on the voice acting, just trying to get gainful employment so I don't end up on, you know, on my bum. There's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of juggling at the moment, but rest assured that I do have plans to do that. I've spoken with a lot of friends about it, and some, you know, we've got some fun plans of things you could do. Oh, also CT, I saw asked a question that I wanted to answer. We have deities from other pantheons like Xerxes, Ariel, and the like. At launch, no. I spoke a little bit about this problem where with the Nine Divines and the Daedra especially, there are tons of things happening in the game that allow you to have this level of reactivity that, you know, you'll kind of see here. With the exterior, or we'll call it like the extended pantheons, there's a lot less stuff. Like for the Nine Divines, there's constantly things and quests and books and whatever that are making reference to the Nine Divines that are already in the game, or they get added by mods. Same thing for the Daedra. Every Daedra gets their own quest. Daedra have various texts about them. They have items that correspond to them. They have very clearly delineated things that they like and don't like, and blah blah blah. Same thing with the Divines. For those other deities, it's a lot harder to create that same level of reactivity, because so much of the content that is used to create the reactivity is not in the game. You would have to add it yourself through a mod. You'd have to find quest mods that have to do with those deities. So it's definitely trickier. It's certainly possible, but anything's possible given infinite time, right? Yeah, you need to go, and that's fun, right? It's fun to go back and see what the other deities are all about and what information is available about them on lore. There are a couple that are in there already that I know Iron Dusk wanted to put in. People like Sithis, we'll say, right? I don't even know if Sithis counts as a people, but whatever Sithis is in there, at least to some extent. These sorts of, or like Anu, Padme, right? Although I don't think they have any sort of direct, there's all kinds of stuff that you could draw from. It's just, and of course there's not also anything wrong necessarily with having some deities that are maybe not quite as impactful. You even already sort of kind of have this in the form of the meditative pantheons, right? Like it's possible, yeah, entity. That's why I wrote it that way in the thing. I'll say, it's just such a hard word to say. You say entity. Anyone ever seen Nathan For You? There's an episode where his like whole plan is to sell houses by having them be haunted. The ghost realtor, that's like her value proposition, is she sells haunted houses, and they bring in a medium who just he's like, there's definitely an entity in this house. That's what I think of every time I say it. But yeah, so that's kind of how that is. Sunless Sea, an opportunity to defy the gods, spit in their altars, get a one-time benefit. Oh, that's super cool. Love it. Is that roguelike? Is that what you're talking about? Anyway, so I'll take a look at one of the divines really fast so I can give you guys just an example of the sort of stuff that they will look at. Let me go up to, I want to do get divines virtues array. I'm going to do this one-handed since I'm holding the microphone. No, that's not the array. I really wish I still had my bookmarks. I did not know that those would... I don't restart my computer for large periods of time, so I've gone back to this window over and over. Glimpse functions, that's not what I'm looking for. Come on, baby. How about this? Let's go. Someone give me a divine. First one I see, I'm gonna look for it. Kinnereth doesn't count, because Sank had said that before I said it. Stendar it is. D's. Stendar. Pray to Stendar if you can. Blah, blah, blah. Else divine. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is part of the function. I'm assuming just get virtues or whatever. My God. Yeah, get divines. Okay, so I was in the right spot. I need to tighten this Blue Yeti microphone. How's the microphone quality, by the way? I'm currently running with my old Blue Yeti because my other microphone's in my vocal recording booth now. It's good? Man, Blue, they make good stuff. I've had this microphone for so many years. Lizzie, there's your divine. Okay, back down to Stendar. I saw Kinnereth, Mara. Here we go. Okay, so piety, right? This is just a little bit of a standard piety that I believe all the divines have. Virtue Pie, the players help some random people. So actually, you know what? These are not necessarily for all of them, but Stendar, for context, I believe Stendar is like the god of like trade and work, right? Let me just double check this because this is important context. Say Stendar Elder Scrolls. Stendar is the god of righteous might and merciful forbearance. Okay, that's not quite what... Who was I thinking of? I was thinking of Zenithar. See, that's why we had to check. God of righteous might and merciful... Ew, no. If you know, you know. It's all about UESP. Stendar, god of mercy, charity, well-earned luck, and justice. Also acclaimed as the god of compassion and righteous rule by might and merciful forbearance. What a handful. Stendar is the apologist of men, the patron of the Imperial Legion, magistrates, rulers, and knights errant, and one of the divines. Right? So, with all of that in mind, let's see what the virtues are. So you got pious, you're helping random people, you're part of the Legion, however many quests you have done, right? It's going to increase, let's see, game query stat, Civil War quest completed. So you get little bonuses for joining. The more quests you do, the more he'll like you, the more you help the Legion, right? Virtue Protect, attempts to eliminate threats to the people. Daedra killed, dragon souls collected, undead killed, creatures killed. So that's your protection of the populace. The Dawn Guard, if you have rejected the vampires, / if you have continued to help the Dawn Guard fight the vampire threat. Destroying the Dark Brotherhood gets you some points for Stendar, right? You've destroyed the Dark Brotherhood, the creepy asshole assassins. So that's Stendar's series of, what's it called? Of direct acts, right? That he likes. So those are what you would call, the virtues are kind of the most direct ways you can impact it. I mean, these are all still direct examples of what I'm about to take place in or explain. We'll say the smaller bit, because life is not just about the big moments. If anything, it's more about the mundane moments in between. So there is also, I gotta find the function for like let's see, equipment, get worn equipment from lists. This is utilized. So all of the divines and deities and entities and whatever you want to call them will look at a bunch of random stuff that's just basically, if there's something kind of related to them in the game and you engage in it, you can count on the fact that that is going to help you make them like you more, right? So I don't even need to find the function. I can just explain it to you. We're talking stuff like wearing equipment that either directly emblemizes them or has some sort of relationship with them, right? So the easy examples of that would be like robes of Stendar, amulet of Stendar, right? If you have read books that are related to Stendar, if you've read stuff that espouses messaging that Stendar would approve of, right? These kinds of things are, if you have, it's like the number of little things that you kill. All of those things, what they will do is make your larger virtuous acts, we'll say. Thank you very much for the Prime sub, Adol. Appreciate it. Wow, 7 months. My gosh. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this new interface that Stream Elements added, and it's actually really cool, but I'm just not used to it yet, so I couldn't see the 7 months. If you're holding, a weapon or something, that's cool for them. So all of these little things they'll notice it, and they'll also because praying and spending time praying is a big part of these things. Sorry, I explained this kind of poorly. This is kind of what I'm getting into now. Praying to gain favor is another really big one, right? You're just praying to your deity. You're a devoted Stendar stan. And when you go to pray, if you are wearing these types of things, if you put on your robes, you take off your shoes, I don't think that one's actually in there, but that would be cool. You put on your amulet and you get all decked out in your Stendar, fit. That will make your prayer reach him more intensely, if that makes sense, right? So that's kind of the basic easy examples. And then I believe, let's see what the sins are. Say get say sins array. There we go. Get divine sins array. Gimme. Here we go. Sin. So these are like generic ones, right? Thievery. Let's see. Oh wait, no, that's for Akatosh. Oh yeah, if divine equals Akatosh, sorry. We're sticking with Stendar. We don't want to spoil too much here. Arcade, Dibella, Julianos, Kinnereth, Mara, Stendar. Okay, so Stendar doesn't like it when you murder people. That's no good. Doesn't like it when you steal stuff. Doesn't like it when you're in jail and you're escaping from... Actually, no, sorry. He doesn't mind if you are in jail. This is the perfect example of just how much thought and love and care went into designing the reactivity and why it would be so hard to replicate with, you know, other deities. Why it's already been so hard to replicate, frankly, just by building out the stuff. And even the ones I've had to build out that aren't finished, I have notes from Iron Dusk to use, which is really cool. But look at this. Stendar's not going to shit on you if you have been jailed. If anything, he's the god of compassion and mercy and whatever. So if you go to answer for your crimes, he's like, all right, like, that's fine. But if you try to escape from a culpability, if you try to escape from answering for your crimes, not gonna be happy with you. So that's what this is all about here, right? However, Stendar is forgiving. If you serve your time, he's like, all right, I see you. Rebellion, right? You join the Stormcloak Rebellion. He doesn't like that. Players betrayed their oath and brought the crown to Ulfric. My God. Oh, wow. That's actually way worse. So this one, you get he really hates you, specifically if you join the Legion and then fucking turncoat it and go give it to Ulfric. So he really gets pissed off at that. If you kill the Emperor, my God, you might as well just be, that's not good. That's a high number there. Oh, also interesting. There's some sort of differentiation here. So it's like Civil War. Oh. Huh. So it's like halved if you helped them otherwise? Yeah. Sin Rebellion for working against the Legion and the Empire. Stendar doesn't like vampires or werewolves. They're threats. So time you have spent, stuff that you have done as a werewolf, not only just being one, but, and then being one is like shitty, but it's not as shitty. Killing people as a vampire, making other vampires, and killing people as a werewolf. He doesn't like that. Don't join the vampires, etc. So you get the idea, and in fact, this is a good way to not spoiler it too much, right? By we'll only take a look at Stendar here, and that way the rest can sort of remain a mystery. But hopefully it kind of illustrates how it all works. And frankly, I personally think it's super cool. I just love it. I really love it a lot. I think that it's a brilliant sort of enhancement to your roleplay, and I think you guys will really like it too. And again, it's almost the most valuable as a skeleton, as a framework. I mean, I shouldn't even say that because there's really so much content that's already there. But the way that he's built it, you can see how easily extensible it is. You know what I mean? Like, shit, if I want to go like Sin, what's something that Stendar wouldn't like? Sin, we'll say, what is something else that he wouldn't like? If he was let's just say he really doesn't like it when you spend Sin too much time reading manga. Say float, Whoops. Float. God, I can't type today. Sin manga equals 0.0. There's your float. Say Stendar doesn't like it when you get the idea. Yeah, Stendar doesn't like when his followers spend too much time reading manga. You say sin threat plus equals to game.query stat manga read times 5, right? I say, however, he really likes Naruto and will make an exception for it. Say, fucking, you get it. Send our angry followers read more a manga collection. Yeah, exactly. Please leave this in the code, of course. So you get the idea. It's really extensible. It's very easy to just sort of, you know, from the script, which frankly, sometimes it's nice when this sort of thing is in a plugin. For this, I'm way more comfortable just having it be in the script now. It's just so much easier and I'm more comfortable coding. And it's just all in one spot. So it's nice and easy. As long as your bookmarks stay in place. Oh, wow. Shots asked, how difficult is it to modify the blessings curses? I swear I did not read that line before I started going on this little, you know, tangent. But it's really easy. It's really easy if you know how to code in Papyrus. And Papyrus really is sort of baby's first coding language. It's if you've never coded in Papyrus, and you've never coded at all, I actually do think it's a pretty solid, like first language. If you've never coded in Papyrus and you are a programmer in other languages, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. You're going to be real upset at certain ways that it does things, but that's okay. Not like I really know that well because I'm not a good programmer in other languages, but I know enough to where I'm like, But anyway, so that's basically religion. If you guys here, go ahead before I get sidetracked by something else. If you have any other questions, hit me with it right now. And if not, I will move on. I'm going to go through the list of bugs and stuff that we have in the news post, and then I am going to show off the UI a little bit, right? I'm going to be starting computer science at uni this year. Maybe I should learn it now. Do you have any good resources for learning Papyrus shots? If you're talking about Papyrus, there's really a lot of great resources. I would almost look at it from like, I would start with something that you want to do, right? Like you have a goal. Do I want to show the yellow table of bug fixes? Sure. Let's do that before the UI, Lizzie, because, oh my God, you guys are going to scream. I can show that, and I can show what's currently sorted into the release 4 on the roadmap, although I should say that some of that is probably going to get punted. I'm still doing my first pass where I'm looking for everything that is relatively low impact. Oh, well, hey, I should say this. Right now it's July 27th. So I'm still in this phase of mod edition planning where I'm basically going through everything we have in the approved category, and maybe considering if I have the time, but going through everything we have in the approved category and looking for stuff that I think is very high impact, very low effort to put in, and a lot of that stuff is getting slotted for the next release. Also, I will need to do a second pass to, manage the scope, right? Because there's a lot of stuff in there, and even the stuff that's easy is not always like easy. However, if you want to, if you have your, let's say your easy, like high impact, low effort to implement to the best of your knowledge mods that are not currently suggested on the roadmap, you should go and suggest them right now, because right now is one of the best chances that you will have of getting that stuff added in a timelier fashion and not getting punted to a later release. So definitely go and do that. Lizzie, can you do me a huge favor? And I'm so sorry to ask you this. Would you mind posting the link to the Discord suggestions form, or the Airtable suggestions form, I should say? How many mods are we up to on the Airtable that are going into release 4? Lizzie the other day said like 270 are listed, and again, I'm going to have to do a pairing second pass. This is the first pass, so that's not all guaranteed. But a lot of those will be making it in, so, So yeah, any other questions about, change standing stone effects, modify the way they interact with their effect. So for that shots, there's a lot that you could do, a lot that you probably should do either in the creation kit or in Xedit, because frankly, the reason why a lot of people can get by with modding Skyrim and Bethesda games without coding really at all is that it's got a pretty robust system for, you know, various magic effects of like no code effects, we'll say. Now, if you want to get kind of complex with your effects, like for example, let's say a standing stone that, you know, it makes it so that when you are dual wielding specifically, or even let's go gnarlier, when specifically you are wielding like a long blade and like a shorter blade, so the kind of the standard dual wielding, like the only actual dual wielding that kind of took place in medieval history, you get a certain type of bonus or a certain effect. Let's even go crazier. A certain effect gets imparted when you swing with your weapons, right? Now that's a more complex magical effect where you're probably going to want to dig into scripting. And for that purpose, I think the best resources that are available there's some pretty crazy YouTube tutorials. I mean, Dark Fox has a bunch of great tutorials on all kinds of modding things, not just scripting. Frankly, I would go to the creation kit and the creation kit like .com or the wiki, right? I didn't even notice that message was pinned. You can go there. Basically what you'll find is like a list of functions. You know, you just kind of look through. It's really good to go through like the SKSE functions and just sort of see what kinds of things are possible. And that'll help you kind of figure out implementation. The other best resource, frankly, is I spend most of my time in terms of like community time in the r/Skyrim mods Discord server. There are just a million bajillion homies in there. So many people who will help you do stuff. I mean, generally speaking, right? And especially if your questions are easy and people have easy answers for it, they're usually happy to help. There's so many different things that I've gotten help with over the years and tried to provide help for. But you know, oh, Lizzie, that wasn't even on purpose. Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, wait. So this is guys, I'm going to copy paste this as well. If you have, or y'all, I should say, not guys. If you have recommendations, I'm going to double check that's what this is. Yes, okay. And again, please check the Airtable, the roadmap first to make sure your suggestions are not there and haven't been either approved or evaluated or whatever. But if you have them, now's the time to get those in there. That's a good idea, I think. Okay, so next, let's do we're going to read through the list of bug fixes. Right? Non-comprehensive, but we wanted to put the major stuff, at least that we either have done or is basically done thus far. So here we go. I think some of these are pretty good. The equip groups are now fixed and fully functioning again. So that's huge. Lizzie found the solution to that, right? Shit is wild. That is also funny. Trying to pin the Airtable link. Who knows? Twitch. Things don't work. So yeah, equip groups are now fixed and fully functioning again. Now I'm trying to get some of those improved controls in at some point. It's pretty unlikely it'll be this next, release. So equip groups, and maybe equip groups will still continue to be useful to people even after that. But they should be working now again, which was a big deal, right? Before they were broken, it was improvement names customized. Lizzie found that, so we owe her big. There's a couple things that Lizzie discovered in here that it's like, ooh, great. Identified and nullified our longest standing mystery crash. This one took way more investigation than like many of the other ones. And a lot of the other ones also took a lot of investigation. So that's really saying something. But Lizzie finally, have any of you experienced this crash where usually it happened around Whiterun. It's just seemingly random. It would just be like, oh shit, like I was just not doing anything in particular. I was going, to the market or whatever, and suddenly I crashed. And it's like, what the hell is happening? Because we really, crashes are very important to us. Bugs are very important to us to squash. Lizzie figured it out. What was happening is essentially the NPCs, when leaving certain cells, the location in which you're set to spawn when you exit a cell was placing them like right into the mesh for some of the laundry stuff, right? It just crashed the game because the collision, I think, didn't know what the hell to do. And yeah, oops. And Lizzie, to be honest, I still don't even know how you figured that out. You want to regale us with a story here while I continue on? And I mean, I know the, you know, the broad strokes. Step in a bucket. All right, well, there you go. That's crazy. So I guess it makes sense that it would apply to the player as well. Oh, you saw them do it. That's a great story. It actually is, though. Yeah, so that was when she found that. I was like, when did you send that to me? I think that was when I was still at one of the weddings. Maybe that was when we were in Vermont or something, and I was just like, no way. Or maybe that was the equip groups. I felt like that for both. Ah, gotcha. Yes, Mika is Lizzie. Yeah, I was gonna say, because we checked that item before and we're like, oh, maybe it wasn't this, I guess, because we can't see anything happening. That's crazy. Oh my god. How did you even focus for that long? Anyway, I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, so we owe her a round. I need like a soundboard that I can play like a round of applause. What else we got? Okay, recalculate the value of player-made potions to make alchemy less overpowered and to more closely match the value of player potions with standard potions. This one's crazy too, because Lizzie basically did a bunch of custom math to make sure that the formula for potion calculation was roughly approximating the, you know, prefab potions that you get from the stores. That's not even like the major, like that's not even alchemy plus, right? Which I'm very likely also adding that stops you from getting more valuable potions. But actually, Lizzie, is this going to fuck up your formula if we add alchemy plus and the negative effects no longer contribute positively to the formula? I feel like it would. Yeah, that one is tricky, unfortunately. Expedition Man, we're still not 110%. No, thank you very much for the report. That one's tough. You're not the first person to report that. Basically, there's just too many objects getting loaded in, and it's harder to, you know, design a solution for, because the whole purpose of those menus is that you have a lot of stuff sort of cycling through. If we can potentially help it maybe by introducing constructible object something keyword system, COX. But frankly, I don't know if that will help, because I don't know how quickly it clears those meshes and models from memory. So like, just because they're compartmentalized into category, like they already are compartmentalized into categories. So I don't know. Straight walking naked in my game. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I believe Lizzie fixed that one. Alchemy, do you consider a toxicity setup similar to 3? I don't know how 3BF tweaks does it. I think toxicity or like some sort of limiting factor could be cool. It really just depends on how you want to do the potions, right? It's not something that I've really dug into. I think I'm going to tackle kind of how I want alchemy to work at some point, you know, in the future, because it's a complex system. I just don't have time for it at the moment. Yeah, like potion chugging, you could also, you know, one of the things that I've really liked is there's the animation mod that makes it take a second. There's even like, there's a really cool mod that adds like a little progress bar for when you do specific things. So like you can, you know, you can change armor in combat, but like a little bar has to fill up before it completes, which I think is really rad. So there's a few different sort of angles. I think the way that I try to look at any of these actually, you know what, have you guys ever seen this video? We should show this off on stream. This is related to bug fixes and whatever. The way that I try to solve most problems is by looking at what we'll call the pain point, because sometimes like you want to make sure the solution addresses like the core problem, or really a better way of putting it is produces the desired experience most consistently or accurately, because you can very often run into what's called like, it's a form of the XY problem, where it's like, oh, let's add toxicity. And it's like, well, why do we add toxicity? It's like, well, because we can currently chug potions too fast, right? And it's like, oh, okay, so like if the problem here, the pain point is that it's unrealistic, it's immersion harming to be able to, you know, down a bunch of potions immediately, toxicity is one way of addressing that. But since that's the core problem, it kind of opens up our options. We're like, okay, what are maybe some other ways that we, if we want to, can attempt to solve that problem, right? There's this really fun excerpt from a documentary about the fighting game Killer Instinct, if you guys have ever played that series, where a developer talks about this exact thing. And I remember when I saw this, I was like, this is the most clear example of really trying to solve problems by looking at the root versus looking at the symptoms, right? Let me go ahead and see if I can find this. And I'm going to do it off screen in case, you know, you never know what sort of not safe for work stuff will pop up on Twitter. Oh, sorry, I said the, all right, let's see. Killer Instinct, maybe actually history. Killer Instinct. Nope. Okay. Documentary. I think I may have it. Yeah, okay, here we go. So check this out, right? Whoops. So I always found this story from @TheKitesProfound, not just for video game development, but for overall life's problems as well, from the Fight On Killer Instinct documentary. So this is only 2 minutes long, but I think this is great, right? So I'm gonna pause this. Let's watch, shall we? Actually, here, shit, that's not gonna be great for you guys, is it? Well, hopefully it's not horrible. Is this horrible if I full screen it? I wish I could just full screen it to this window only, but whatever, it should get the job done.
I'm gonna give you a great example of this. A lot of people are really mad at a certain thing, and they're
oh wait, is it loud enough? Hold on.
They want change, right?
No. Okay, sorry, gotta crank this. See, so many different things. Sorry for this haphazard stream setup. All right, third time's the charm.
I'm gonna give you a great example of this. A lot of people are really mad at a certain thing, and they're rallying together to be mad together because they want change, right? Jago is too strong. His healing is through the roof. I did all that damage, and now he's got it back. I'm pissed, Iron Galaxy, what gives, right? And I think, you know, maybe a less experienced developer will be like, I guess the healing's too much. They're all saying it's too much, let's reduce the healing. We did not do that. We instead took 4 months to really study Jago and figure out the root of the problem. We wanted to find the disease, not the symptom. Because we always had this feeling that the healing was a symptom. And when we really dug into it, we were like, okay, Jago doesn't have any bad matchups in the entire game. His worst matchup's a 5-5. Why is that? Jago's not weak anywhere on the screen, actually. He's only kind of weak mid-screen. He's really good full screen and he's really good up close. But as soon as he's mid-screen, he has this magical move called the wind kick, where he's immediately in your face and he's only like -2. So he can immediately get out of his worst distance in any matchup and be at his best distance. So we nerfed wind kick frame advantage. We didn't nerf the healing. We said, okay, medium and heavy wind kicks are more minus now. The heavy one's punishable, the medium one is sometimes punishable. And we told people why we did it in the patch notes, and they hated it. They all erupted. This is not what we asked for. We wanted you to nerf the healing. The healing is what was pissing us off. Why did you do this? Jago players are gonna have to rethink their game plan now, so they're pissed too. Everyone's big mad. And then a month and a half later, no one was complaining about Jago anymore. And new matchup charts were coming out, and Jago now had 4 or 5 bad matchups in the cast. Because we found the disease. The disease was that this character had no weakness on the screen. And I think developers really have to spend a lot of time trying to find the disease instead of listening to people crying about the symptoms, you know? Oh, my head hurts. Well, that could be a headache or a brain tumor. We have to really dig into it and find out what the problem is and make smart choices that will keep the entire ecosystem kind of in harmony.
For me, KI kept getting better as a
I'm gonna give you a
Isn't that fucking cool? I love this. I love it. It's such a quick, easy way of explaining. It's not quite the XY problem. The XY problem is when, you know, users, it sort of is. If you guys are not familiar with XY problem, it's when users, oh God, sorry, that's loud, will report an issue as one thing, but actually like The issue is, or actually, here's a great example. We had a bug report where the user was the most wonderful user you could ever imagine. They were super diligent with what they reported they were doing, like the circumstances in which this bugged behavior happened. And it just so happened that what they thought was like the pertinent information to include, what they thought was the thing causing this bug that they were experiencing, had absolutely nothing to do with it. The bug that they were reporting was how the merchant inventories, it is a bug, merchant inventories will respawn when you save the game and reload, I believe it is, right? And this is actually now fixed, which we never thought this would be fixed. So that's super cool. But this user, it was awesome. They had just like punched the merchant, whoever it was, right? And they were convinced, or it was like a given for them that they reported it as like punching a merchant made their inventory reset, right? And they reported it as, oh, punching the merchant. It's like, yeah, so I punched the merchant, and then when I would reload the save, it was almost like an afterthought. Their entire inventory had refreshed, and just want to let you guys know that. And I just thought that was the most, because they were so sweet. And if this person is you, by the way, thank you so much, like, for the report. And I wish every report was exactly like how yours was. But it's just so easy to do, because you kind of, from where you're sitting there, it's very hard to sort of like evaluate for known knowns and unknown unknowns, right? Like, sorry, unknown knowns, and you know what it is. It's very difficult to have the full picture of what's happening. And sometimes the shit that we sort of assume, and it happens, I think, less as you become more and more familiar, both with testing methodologies and then also with even the specific game or environment you're working in. But there will still sometimes be, I cannot tell you, especially when I first started making Ultimate Skyrim back in the day, how many times I was like trying to test the source of a bug and I couldn't figure it out, and nothing, all these things I was doing that should have eliminated the different options until I knew what was happening, they weren't helping, and they weren't helping me eliminate it, and it kept happening anyway, or it kept not happening under circumstances in which I thought it should, and I'd just be like, what the fuck is happening here? And then it's something like that. You're like, oh, there's a factor here that I'm not even realizing is a factor at all. Yo, thank you for 33 months. I'm your Greg. Much appreciated. And it's just really cool. It's like such an interesting thing. I don't know. Reminds me of League of Legends devs. They just continue fixing symptoms till they end up with more symptoms they started with. It's really, really hard. I mean, and especially, I don't envy anyone who has to build like a multiplayer competitive game the way these people do, or the League of Legends devs. I cannot speak, like, video games and video game development are so complex. It is just nuts, right? Which is not to, if someone makes an experience that isn't, like, everyone's fundamentally responsible, like the company and the people, whatever, like, you are responsible for the game you make. And if, your target audience isn't having a good time with your experience, then, like, that is what it is. It's your responsibility to address it or to figure it out or whatever. But it is really hard. It's really hard. Like, sometimes, even to the developers, the symptoms of a problem do really genuinely seem like the root of it, even when they've spent time to sort of study the situation. And then other times, developers are more or less aware of like a deeper root causing the problem, but they're limited in some way by their ability to address it, whether it's, spaghetti code or technical debt, or just, a system being designed in a certain way that they only now kind of have the wherewithal or the perspective to realize it doesn't actually work for the experience. Maybe the experience they're trying to produce has been shifted a little bit, or there's a million things that it can be. It's not easy. It's pretty well balanced for the amount of variables it has. I think, and now I'm not a huge League, like, I don't know it tremendously well, but I know it better than some. Every time there's one of like the major finals or whatever, I will watch it just because the energy is infectious, and I understand. I played MOBAs a little bit and I understand some of what's going on, but that's how I feel. Like, when you have a roster of, how many characters are in League? Like, dozens at this point, right? How many people like haven't worked on this? How many? It's like, it's just nuts that you can balance. Or it's like platform fighters and stuff. How do you balance this many characters and make them, I don't know, like okay, or stuff like this even, like Killer Instinct. I don't know. It's just nuts to me. I love I'm Old Greg. It's amazing. Yes. Anyway, I thought that was a cool little thingy. And now we'll go ahead and continue on. Let's see. Regeneration. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna kind of rattle through here pretty fast. Well, it's 2 o'clock right now. I got a little bit of time left. So I'm gonna go ahead and rattle through these, right? And then we're gonna show off here's what we're gonna do, fast. We're gonna go through these fixes. We're going to take a look at the yellow roadmap. We're gonna take a look at the pink roadmap. And then I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of the HUD, and then I'm gonna bounce. How does that sound? And if you have questions, get them in now. And then that'll make it so that we don't get to do those things. All right, let's see. Reworked regeneration to be less punishing for builds without high burst DPS. So this is my current ongoing fix. It's starting with Nox Crab's regeneration fixes. And I might make a couple little tweaks additionally. So really, I should put Nox Crab in there, frankly. Restored sneak attack bonuses on several endgame enemies to make stealth builds less punishing at high levels. That one's a big one. Someone suggested a mod the other day that is like really cool, where it adds some like alternative ways to reduce the regen so that like stealth builds can do specific things, which I think is pretty dope. And hold on a second, Lizzie, do we have who is this user? Yeah, okay, we're gonna need, hold up a second. Can you go ahead and get that user banned for me, Lizzie? I would much appreciate it. Upon making mod packs, yes, I saw some of the stuff that got auto modded, so that's a go ahead and instant ban. Thank you very much. I have got a question. Do you plan on making mod packs for ES6 when it comes out? Maybe, no Dectus. It really just depends. The reason that I went to make, there's too many factors there that or questions that don't have answers yet. I don't know what kind of experience ES6 is going to be. I don't know if it's something that I'll be interested in. I don't know what I will be doing at the time. So really any question that I would get, or any answer, excuse me, that I would give you now, it wouldn't really be worth much. Maybe it would be my answer. Let me see. We got restored sneak attack bonuses and several endgame enemies. I said that one. Replace broken follower AI. So that's a big one. It's basically just yeeting follower live package and replacing it with some comparable features, right? Not easy to do, but you know, not horrible, just time consuming. Fix an issue where the inventory menu was sorting strangely and not in alignment with expected behavior. That one's easy. Reduce the time elapsed for building Hearthfire homes. Fixed an issue where dragons would not spawn as configured. That's a big one. That requires us to straight up replace all of the current, well, it's really just updating Skyrim Unbound Reborn to a much newer version that doesn't have the bug that we have anymore. But the reason we haven't done that in so long is because it's actually pretty difficult to do. Thank you very much, Lizzie. Let's see. Skin animals on it. Oh yeah. Wait. Oh yeah. NPC face gen is no longer generated at runtime. Excuse me, which should open the door for Steam Deck support in the future. So this one I'm excited about. It is going to add a little bit more size onto the. I'm looking for ways to cut this down. It's going to add more size to the install, roughly in the ballpark of like a few gigs. But this is why currently we cannot have Wildlander run on like the early attempts to get it onto the Steam Deck that a user over in the Wabbajack subreddit has been doing with some of the different lists. So I think that's going to be super cool. I have a Steam Deck. I love my Steam Deck. So much of what I'm doing with the controls changes and the HUD are designed for the Steam Deck, right? So, you know, that's cool. Skinned animals now display a skin carcass. I saw that SK mentioned this in his video. I'm also really excited about that one just because it always was weird how that wasn't the case. Lanterns now require fuel. So I got to talk to you guys about this one. Lanterns now require fuel and are no longer a free infinite light source. So that's how it currently is set up, right? That's sick as hell. And it's also super cool that the mod author there created a variant specifically for us. That was just so sweet. I am considering actually not having wearable lanterns anymore. And I want you guys to hear me out on this before. And it's not guaranteed, but it's something I've been thinking about kind of weirdly a lot lately. I know this is going to produce like if I do this, everyone's going to be so mad at me. So we'll see. It might just be at that point where it's like beyond, you know, even if I don't necessarily agree with it anymore. But so here's my rationale, right? Wearable lanterns don't really make a lot of sense in terms of the design and in turn like the mechanics design and in terms of like realism, we'll call it, right? Now I don't care so much about the realism part, but right now there's a problem where wearable lanterns, the benefit that they give you is that both of your hands are free, and the detriment compared to other light sources is none. And it's that second bit that is a problem. Torches are cool because they require you to give up your left hand in order to light the area. It's an interesting player choice that, you know, forces you to gain something by sacrificing something else. You can see it's like, yeah, fuel is a way, right? Like so basically what we have to do here with lanterns is give them an appropriate detriment or give them something that makes them into a more interesting player choice versus just the completely optimal solution in any scenario. So that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. Fuel is one, but frankly, it's pretty easy to make fuel realistically. There's not like a lot of stuff that we can do. Like fuel, you generally, like fat can be rendered into oil and oil can be used for a lantern. This is functionally what happened like back in the old days, right? Oil is heavy, sacrifice carry weight. I mean, it's true, but even then it's not that heavy. And then when you start to make it heavier, it strains credulity, right? And I do also want to illustrate here that like, so we're clear, like and I've done extensive research on this. Wearable lanterns were like really, really not a thing. Lanterns were a thing, but you would carry them in your offhand. There are a couple examples of wearable quote unquote lanterns in antiquity, right? And they were like these pretty gnarly sort of like prefab contraptions that were attached to people's belts, right? And that's something that maybe we could do. We could either, you know, we could make it where it's a little bit harder to craft one or something. The DS2 torch decision from Saw trying to fix it, just took it out. Pretty better than from Saw. So which is the maybe wearable lantern should slow movement speed? Yeah, that's actually like a really good one. I like that idea. So the idea for sure is that like, you know, we need to figure out something. If we keep these, we need to figure out. So, or like, yeah, if you add penalties, you can't move fast, or also if you get into combat, it can, yeah, smash and deal fire damage. That was a big one. Adol, you said that was one that I have on my list for sure. That's just kind of, you know, it's like, it's extra dev time or like whatever. And also I want to be clear, like, let's just say that in a scenario, and I'm not even saying that I will, I really, if anything, would prefer to leave an additional option in that just makes it more interesting. Like what you guys are coming up with now is certainly more interesting than just getting rid of them, right? Even if we were to do that, even if we were to get rid of them, I think that you would also have to add in additional options that, you know, allow people to have fun with the light mechanics, because fun is what it's all about at the end of the day. So if we can come up with interesting choices that make wearable lanterns not just the optimal solution, that's what we'll do. The lanterns weigh 5 pounds and affect spell. See, the thing is, it's like you could definitely do that, SK, but it's like the 5 pounds, like lanterns don't weigh 5 pounds. You know what I mean? Not with as much iron as there. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be that much less, but certainly you can find something here. Maybe 5 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. All right. You heard it here first. SK and I have just agreed we're now making lanterns 20 pounds. That's how that works. Sorry. I'm glad that you guys were here to speak with me. Yes, you don't want to nullify the point of using other light sources. You want to make it fun. Yes, the fuel is like, it's there for like realism, but yes, it is so easy to acquire, at least currently, that it's just, you know, that's really awesome, Dan. We actually, progressive encumbrance, that's not one that I've heard of. We have a lot of stuff for carry weight planned. Let's see. how much you're carrying, how much you... Oh, wow, okay. I mean, this is basically what I plan to do. That's really rad. I'm going to bookmark this for later so I can add it to the thing. Thank you. See how they... I mean, there's a lot of different mods that attempt to do something like this, and I just kind of compare implementations and things of that nature. Is it Resident Evil where every sprinted step you take when holding dynamite has a tiny chance to blow you up? Which game did that? Why is that? I remember, like, which of the Resident Evil games... That's not the OG, is it? I almost want to say 3. Maybe 2. If you guys like the 20 pounds idea, I take credit. Okay, so moving on. Random enemy aggression is significantly reduced and more easily fixed if it does occur. That's a big one. Thank you, Wanking Skeever, for that. Wanking Skeever, by the way, is about to make $1 million bajillion in donation points because he alone has like 60 or 70 mods that are slotted for inclusion. Crazy. Favorited items can no longer be broken down or used in crafting recipes. Thank you, PO3. Fixed several College of Winterhold quests that sometimes fail to start properly. Proper perks have been added to tons of followers and NPCs who did not have them previously. That is all Lizzie. We have her to thank for that. What else we got? Fixed an issue where combat music would continue to play after combat ended. That is an annoying bug that I haven't tested that one yet. I haven't encountered it since, so maybe it is fixed. But, you know, just because we haven't had it yet doesn't mean it's fully fixed. But I think so. You can now have multiple instances of NPC favor quests instead of just one per type. That one's dope as shit. We love Sacroletius. We stand Sacroletius. That Sacroletius is also Andrealphus on Nexus. So if you see like Andrealphus, I think 7, that's Sacroletius. Deadwood and branches on the ground can now be collected. That one's dope. Fixed an issue where sleeping on the ground provided a well-rested bonus. That's many of you have contacted us about that one. I agree. That's ridiculous. It makes it, again, totally. I mean, that one's really not intended. So that's for sure a bug. Added missing beneficial effects to several food recipes. Added several missing Requiem scrolls to spell research. These are all Lizzie. Fixed elemental arrows not being usable with elemental bows. That one I forgot about. That one's kind of nuts. Fishing loot tables are better balanced and contain additional loot types. Thank you, Lizzie. You can see how many of these are Lizzie. Yes, she'll have like an Easter egg. What's it called? How about this? Instead of what are the 2 deities for order and chaos? That's the OGs, Anu and Padme, respectively. Lizzie can be order and I'll be chaos. Yeah. There we go. I think someone said that on the Discord the other day, and I've just been so enamored with it because it really is true. I think it really fits our classic sort of illustration of me doing things. And that was you, SK? Oh my gosh. That is I loved it so much. That made me giggle. I think I replied to it, but if I didn't, I meant to. But yeah, Lizzie follows me around with a bucket. I've tried to leave not so many things for... Yeah, and then Liam made this excellent alignment chart for the Discord. Y'all sick memes. They're great. I love them. I do see a lot. I don't always have time to reply. What else we got? Added several missing Requiem scrolls, spell research, fixed up, blah, blah, blah. Fishing. Hawks can now be looted and... located and looted once shot. That may or may not have been broken because of some shit that I was doing, so apologies for that. Oopsie. I did spend a long time trying to fix it, so that's got to count for something. Not really. Hearthfire, blah, blah, blah. Certain weather should no longer make the sky glow green. Excuse me. That one it's another one where I'm like, hopefully it's been fixed. I haven't seen it since I installed the fix, but I don't know. A fixed absorb spells not gaining experience. Lizzie and Doomblades. Prisoners instantly attacking the player once jailed. Lizzie discovered that one while she was testing the missives, the dark missives, so that's pretty funny. Whoa, what do we get? 6 gifted subs. Wait a second. No. Oh, man, I'm really misreading that. There we go. 3 gifted subs. Thank you so much at all. Appreciated. Very much appreciate it. Let me see here. I mean, you guys get the picture, right? There's a lot of fixes, and it's really sick. And there's honestly way more than even what's listed here. So with that, why don't we just kind of quickly thumb through? I'm going to do Airtable Here, you want to see our behind the scenes? The only reason this is behind the scenes is because we use this for the Jira import. Eventually, we're going to migrate this entire thing over to the public roadmap. But this is currently what's slotted for 1.2, right? So planned, I believe that's the only thing. Filtered R4. We've got group by field, first last sorted. Nice. Sweet. So there's a lot of stuff here. I'm just going to keep scrolling until I can't anymore. In progress or waiting merge. So these are almost all Lizzie's that she's waiting on me to implement. This is stuff that's like done, tested and done. There's a lot of shit in here, right? It's a lot. And there's also more we'll go to the roadmap where you can see. Let me go to even my work environment so I don't mess up the thingy. Say filtered by, it's going to add condition. We're going to go only show where mod name, no, where milestone has any of religion. So again, this is not like guaranteed, right? There are a lot here that maybe will still be kind of pared down. And some of that is true for the yellow board as well. What we just saw, there's some things on there that I've added just in case I have the time to do it. But some of it I know is going to be lower priority and more annoying to do. And it's going to get punted to later versions. But this is the stuff. So if ever you want to see this for yourself and really go through in depth, you can apply the same filter that I just filtered to one of these. And you will be able to see all of the different, these are just purely mods that I hope to add, right? And a lot of them really are like plug and play. So there's some really cool stuff on here. I strongly encourage you guys to dig through and to sort it and go nuts. Have I broken my mic stand? I have not. It's just that it doesn't, I mean, I could probably leave it here. How does this sound? Test 1, 2, 3, 4. I just move around a lot. Yes, and this does not include the jobs or the religion stuff itself. That's where, see, that's what I figured. The reason I'm bringing it close here is because I don't have like my old mic stand is now in over here. Check it out. You guys can see in my booth that is there. So I need to get, I guess, another one. I don't really know what to do about it. So, you know, until then, I'm holding my microphone like I'm doing karaoke. It's not so bad. So that's the roadmap. And honestly, I'm going to have to bounce pretty quick here. But you sound too far away, Peepo said. How come I can't see the fucking Franker Z emojis or whatever? Gameplay footage added content mechanics at work. Oh shit, that's my B, SK. You have a general timeline for when we can expect this. I mean, probably the next stream I will be trying to show like the gameplay and the mechanic. The honest truth is that like for at least, I mean, the Missives is really good to show off. Actually, the religion is like, I can show off some of the powers and stuff to do. I don't want to promise you something that I can't, you know what I mean? Like guarantee, but hopefully soon. To be honest, I'm going to be focusing a lot more on like implementation. So presumably, you know, you will have it before not too long. But we have kind of a lot that we're doing at the moment, and I don't know. We'll see, right? Crap missed the stream will be. Yes, it will be on YouTube, Max. It means I need to give you a Nexus link for the mods I've done. Yes, absolutely, Lizzie. I mean, you could do that, or you just give it to me, you know, yourself. Just hand it off to me, and I can install it. Wow, that is so well timed. Is that I pinch or L pinch? Sorry if this was already asked or talked about. Just joined, but has there been some changes to the heavily misaligned 1610 UI? So what I'm actually going for here, the short answer is yes. And I said this very early in the stream, right? Yeah, of course, SK. I mean, the problem is it's not really playable yet, like not installable for anybody else. It's just, you can see it's a giant mess upon my, what's it called, dev environment. But so the UI right now, well, let's talk about it, shall we? I have Illustrator open specifically for this purpose. I don't know at this. I'm gonna have to put the microphone down. How about I go like this and put it right there? I'm gonna aim it up. How's that? Is that horrible? take Illustrator. It's kind of hard to use my keyboard, but that's okay. Yeet immersive horses. Maybe. I like the new stuff. All right, cool. Sounds all right. Sick. So here's kind of a preview of the gnarliest version, like the most shit on screen version of the UI, right? Also, this is the version where secretly I've merged Magicka and Stamina into one thing. I know some of you are, well, we've talked about that before. I still think it's a good idea. But this is kind of what it's going to look like. And this, I suppose, in a roundabout way, answers that question of the 1610 situation where, yeah, it'll be fixed because everything is basically going to be one widget, right? I've made sure that I can implement this the way it's designed. It's designed to be massively contextual, and I'll kind of get into it in a second. This has been workshop. I want to show you guys how many. Okay, so here's all the different sort of components, UI things that I have tried and I have implemented and I've sent along to the team and to Connor. We've been workshopping this for fucking ever, trying to figure out, what works, how it should be. Do we have numbers? Do we have, for a while I wanted to do, I still really like this design, right? Where you have sort of the modular different meters for health, Magicka, Stamina, reverse that. You got little stuff there's one over here. Yeah, this one has meters for like enchanting and for poisons and all this kind of stuff. And I've been going to other games that I really like and kind of looking at how they do their HUDs and figuring out what they do and why. And it's really been this exercise in design, because I think there's two major things. One is that, the essence of design is that something that works well, it's designing for the context in which something will be used, right? Something that works well for another game that is a different style of experience than yours, that might be a great design for theirs, might be a great design, in that context. But when you try to apply it to yours, maybe it's not exactly what you're looking for. The best example of that would be like this. So I made this, this cute sort of like in the center of the screen, does that, when I preview, does that show up for you guys, or does it get all weird when I do the full screen preview? Because sometimes it gets weird for some people when I stream it. It doesn't show up? Okay, I'll just leave it like this then. So I had this because, sometimes when you're in these really intense combat scenarios, you want some of these items to be close to the screen. There's a lot of shooters and stuff that I really like that do this. And it works well for some things, but I just, I found that having stuff that's too close to the center, like it's just about figuring out what you should prioritize, right? So for us, I really view Wildlander and even just Skyrim at large as this much more sort of immersive experience, where I found that as useful as these HUD components were, I kind of didn't like and they were still contextual. They only showed up when you wielded weapons or whatever, but I didn't like having them in the center of the screen, and they would still kind of frankly be there a lot of the time, because like your stamina and your Magicka, right? They don't, what's it called? They're oftentimes being drained, and especially with like the needs stuff where it can affect your regeneration rate, there would be a lot of game time in which this stuff is visible, and I find that it's just kind of distracting and gets in the way and whatever. Also, it doesn't work super well for when you're in third person, right? Because like you want a design that works for both first and third person. Yo, what's up, Rick? Yes, we got a stream right now. So you have stuff like that. You also have, like one of the things that I was really inspired by, I was playing The Last of Us 2 recently and some other games that are really focused on this like minimalist sort of immersive UI. And there's a lot of things that I like about what they do. One of the things I really liked was that you had, I've talked a lot about the concept of eye travel, right? HUD being distracting from immersion. So I think, do I still have that image of the old HUD? Yeah, right here from Lizzie's showcase. So if you look at our current HUD, I think that there's things that it does well of sorts, but here's the problem, I think. Having this in the bottom center, while it reduces eye travel for these important components, to me, it's like I can feel it there all the time, right? Like I just feel it, like there's a, like something there that's just like in the bottom of my periffs and makes it a little bit harder to get myself into it. This widget over here is like, who needs all that stuff? A lot of this stuff, there's just, or even I saw someone said right here, yeah, SK, especially when you get a ton of buffs going, it's like 10 icons for my mage character. What I really did with this new design is like went back to the drawing board, was like, oh, when do we need to see stuff? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Really just trying to look at what we need to see, when we need to see it, whether we need to see it at all, and what's a way that we can present all this information in a way that feels intuitive, that is scalable, that hopefully can be made contextual, right? Yeah, what's up, Sakura? We were just talking about you. So yeah, we're looking at all the stuff. Like I had, like several games use like needs HUD like this, right? Like let's take these bad boys. And I was, oh, we have, oh, sorry, I forgot that doesn't work. It's my muscle memory. Talking about UI is Dylan's reward for adding 300 mods to the Airtable milestone. It's absolutely true. You have a lot of games, that add something like this for like your needs, which I think is really cool. But it's also like, do I need to see this all the time? Do I really care about my hunger or my thirst when it's at 90%, 80%? Like, it's not really that important. When I need to see it is actually, frankly, the way that it already works, which is that, you get a little icon when it's getting low, and that icon changes a little bit when it's getting really low, and so on and so forth, right? So I try to incorporate that into this HUD. It's all like, and the second design challenge is just that Skyrim, for better or for worse, has this intense emphasis on the two hands, right? You have these two hands and they're kind of equal, they're symmetrical. Each hand can kind of do anything. It can carry, not anything, but it does, each hand like does stuff, right? And you can have, you can have a weapon in both hands, and each weapon has, enchanting, and it has poison on it and all this stuff. And it's like, how do we represent this on the HUD? This is where you look at something like, the whole center bottom HUD was really good for this because it provides this natural symmetry point. If I go left, that means it applies to my left hand. If I go right, it applies to my right hand. This is an attempt to kind of correct some of what you see with even like Bethesda's vanilla HUD design. Like it's Skyrim is kind of a baby game, so there's not a ton of stuff that you need there. But frankly, it's like not great. It's let's see if we can find a picture. Skyrim HUD. And I just find mods like all the time. Maybe if I go here, like this is actually a pretty good. Yeah, this is almost everything. So if you look at this HUD, it's kind of fucking weird at the outset. So not only do you have stuff that's kind of in the center or whatever, that's fine, I guess, but you have the magicka on the left. You can't see it there because it's contextual. That part's cool at least. And you have the stamina on the right? That's kind of weird when like you see the charge bar on the left, like that's supposed to correspond to like your left hand, and the charge bar that's on the opposite side is supposed to correspond to your right hand, right? But they're above meters that just don't even have anything to do with like the left or the right. So it's like very strange. I don't know. There's just little things like this. And so you can even see like when we did this, let me take this one actually. When I had this like in the center, you run into the same kind of problem where like the magicka bar on the left and the, like here we have two elements. This is supposed to indicate your poison on your right. This is your poison on your left, but it's right beneath bars that are also placed on the left and the right that have nothing to do with the fact that it's left or right. You know what I mean? Also, Adol, that was where I landed as well. I kept, I was doing all different kinds of little like tests, and you can see I tried out so many different concepts. I've got needs bars here. We've got an injury thingy here that I like built out. That's all kind of, piece by piece, which is really fun. And that was like a fun project, but none of it quite felt right. And I've been workshopping it with the team and like with Connor, and finally I landed on something that I actually really do like, which is this is the most complicated that it gets, right? And it's a HUD that is distilled down to like only showing you what you need to see when you need to see it. It's highly contextual. It can build upon itself and all kind of flower out from this one widget. It solves any like misalignment problems, because the reason that shit gets misaligned now and gets fucked up between different resolutions if you change it or whatever is because there's like 4 different systems that are all responsible for different parts of the HUD, and this allows me to reduce it down to 1, which is really nice. You have, it's like super modular, so what you could do is like I have here's like a version of it where you only have, you know, like your, what's it called? Like this is for your right hand, that's your left hand. You can have, I'm just going to do this like right quick, right? Let's do, I'm just going to approximate it really fast. I'm going to take you and you and you. No, sorry. A lot of these have crazy like effects on them, so they extend far out beyond their stuff. Let's hide these. That's weird. No, god dang it. Sorry. Just give me all this. No, what's the best way to do this? Sorry, give me 2 seconds. This is kind of, without having like live versions to kind of showcase, this is annoying. Okay, get rid of you. Take these guys, bring it down to there. Let's take all of this and straight up, I'm just gonna move you, delete that. Whoops. Like that. I've got this guy ready to go. Add that. I think there it needs to be adjusted ever so slightly. There. Actually, no. There you go. Move it over here. You get the idea. Like this is a variant of the, god, sorry, I keep forgetting that preview doesn't work. This is a variant that works, right? Yeah, it's like, it's neat, it's condensed, it's off to the side. The only reason these are showing there, right, is because you have been hurt. You can see a representation of the injury system that I'm working on. Here, you know, again, you only have the stuff that you need to see. This is just, you know, a random arbitrary icon, but this is where your stuff like needs would go, or your injuries, simple things like that. Just only stuff that you really need to see. And even though you can see it, it's like off to the side, right? Like way off to the side. Let's just pretend that this was also stretched on here, like this. Wow. And all of it, like literally, like it could very well be that at some point, the only thing you see is like the ammo counter, right? Like this is a very likely HUD that you can still see when it's not anything else is needed. And that only shows up, by the way, when you have the what's it called, the oh my god, your weapons out, right? And specifically when you have a ranged weapon out, because that's the only time you need to see your arrows. So like otherwise it'll be like this, right? Or if you did like, you know, yeah, I mean, you get the idea. So it's really small and it's there, and it completely solves any sort of problems with the aspect ratio. The different elements don't get, and also there's not stuff like the, you know, I'll probably put a compass in there or whatever, but that's easy, right? And it's just that, it's just like really, and I can't kind of full screen it super well for you guys. Maybe if I do this, maybe like, that's about as close as I can kind of get, unless I like can't zoom in. Anyway, you get kind of an idea, but it's super like, you know, I don't know, like minimal, and it's just out of the way. Like this is what I was working on with Last of Us 2, where obviously you have to travel a little bit further with your eyes in order to see this important information. But I could tell that they made up for that by being like, okay, our stuff is over in the corner and it's minimalist, so you're gonna have to look over there. But it's easy because you only ever have to look in one place. Everything we ever need you to see is going to be on that side of the screen. It's going to be in that corner. There is nothing else that you were going to need to look for by playing this game that isn't just right there. So you also don't have, you know, something in this corner or in every corner that you have to look at, which like that kind of thing can work well. It works especially well for like first person games. But keep in mind, like this is a hybrid experience now. I mostly play like action stuff in first person still. This works for first person. Also, we all spend a lot of time, I think, at this point, and we're going to spend even more time in subsequent versions with like better animations and like just cool shit on your character. Who doesn't like to look at their character in these games that are about building your character? You get this wonderful third person camera angle where your entire character is like, you know, fucking, I don't know why that's all gradient-id, but let's just pretend, right? That's a little stretched. It's a little big. This is a zoomed in camera angle, but this is you, right? You take up like that whole part of the screen. You see what's in front of you. And guess what's not overlapping on top of you or fucking getting in the way is the HUD. It's there when you need it, not there when you don't. And I don't know, it's just really sick in my opinion and makes everything again that you need clear. So likely I'm going to be going some version of this, and I spent as much time as I did. This is like over, months I've been working on this just in my spare time. He's just like me, for real. Yeah, Dave the Diver. There he is. Average American player character. But anyway, that's the idea, and it does kind of solve that problem. And this is also like something I wanted. It's also extremely easy to scale. That's the other thing, because I wanted, easy version when you are here on the screen and you're playing with a nice desktop or you're playing on like your TV or whatever. And then if we're going to be moving to stuff like the Steam Deck, look what you can do. You can just like, if this is our thing, you go like, boom. You just make it a little bit bigger. Honestly, it's still pretty unintuitive. Sorry, not unintuitive. Unobtrusive, at least to me. And you just make it a little bit bigger. And we can easily adjust like the size of it. Like go into our fucking launcher. We're working on, I can't guarantee this will be done by the time the thing comes out, but we've been working on allowing us to tweak more stuff from the launcher itself. So you can just easily be like accessibility options. Like how big do you want the HUD? You want it bigger? Boom, there you go. Or like, streamer mode, right? Where like streamers are making content. A lot of the time, the content that they make is being viewed on phones. So I know that like a lot of people, like many content creators have told me that they wish there was an option to make the HUD bigger for when, their viewers want to be able to see that stuff as well. So it's just, I don't know, we got really cool shit in the works. And with that, I'm actually right on time for when I got to go ahead and end the stream. Also, Sakura, I saw you mentioned earlier, we were talking about you because we added, or in our news update, one of the mods that you made that we're going to be adding to the next version was listed there. It was the increased disposition with Missives quests. But there's more than just that. And we were talking about how you're amazing and we love you and we stan you forever. Yeah, what is a spare time? No fucking kidding, y'all. Spare time. Average American player character. Dragon Priest Fix 2. Yes, most definitely. Anyway, y'all, that's what I got. I feel like my throat is going to explode for how much I've been talking over the past 2 hours and 45 minutes. 35 minutes, really. I hope this has been enough information for you. Please feel free to ask me additional questions, on Discord or whatever it is. This is obviously, streams are not the best format for sort of getting a bunch of information. That's why I wanted the news posts as well. And I'm really going to try for like when we do releases and stuff to make an actual video that is, going to contain various fixes and explain things in a much more condensed, easy to access way where I don't get distracted by the various things that we like to talk about. And that's my spiel. Of course, thanks for hanging out, SK. People reported issues with disposition missives. Might be user error. Please do some testing. Yes, most certainly will. What issues, out of curiosity, Sakura? I did like scan through the bugs or whatever. Also, I'm going to check and see. Twitch.tv/Dylan B. Perry. Pausa. Oh, look who's... What? Guys, what serendipity. Balian is online right now, and he's playing Wildlander. That's crazy. What a coincidence. That's nuts. Well, it's going to be our guy. All right, y'all. Well, I really appreciate you hanging out. What's Wildlander? Oh, it just works. What a legend. I cannot believe Todd Howard. I can't believe that he exists. I can't believe that, the spirits as they were would grace us with such a presence. And yet here we are on Earth with him. Wonderful. Anyway. It doesn't work for them. Oh, well, I will test Sakura, but we test everything, but suffice to say, I appreciate the warning. I'll just say, but usually, just as well as I do, those kinds of, it's like, what, even if there was an issue, thank you for that really useful feedback. Todd Howard is not real. Stop spreading misinformation. That's fair. Fair, true and fair. All right, let's see. Raid. Oh, that's all I got to do. All All right, y'all. Well, I really do appreciate it. Again, thank you for bearing with me in what has been a really crazy summer. We will have more to show you. We're obviously really excited about all the different stuff. I really strongly encourage you guys again to go through and check the mods that are currently added to the release. And again, if you don't see anything, if there's something you really want that you feel like is going to be an easy add or an easy fix or whatever, and no guarantees. Again, I'm going to have to pair through and, I'll be able to tell if it really is that easy to add. But if you don't see it there, this is a good opportunity to try and get it in there. So go ahead and make your suggestions. I really appreciate you guys kind of scouring for cool stuff the way that you do. And with that, I'll go ahead and say I'll see you next time. All right. So thank you for hanging out with me. Please take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourself most of all, because you deserve it. And I will see you next time. All right. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. All right. Goodbye. Bye-bye.